Chapter 1166. Hearing Lu Chen's words, all the 9-star king experts shut their mouths. Tribulation within 2 years? Didn't you say that your battle soul's attribute is not enough? Someone asked. Lu Chen smiled. This is my business. I will put all the resources you give me in the Divinity Devil's sacred courtyard. If I can't do it, I will announce the dissolution of the Divinity Devil's sacred courtyard. I will also be at your disposal. You don't want the cash withdrawal scroll? Tian Xian looked at Lu Chen in shock. I said, this is my business. You can give me the resources according to the requirements, or you can stay and supervise. Leaving all the resources in the holy courtyard of the gods and demons, and then disbanding the gods and demons, it was obvious that all the resources they had fought for before had gone to waste. In addition, Lu Chen was at their disposal. With such conditions, there was no possibility of cheating. Little friend Du Kuang, can we discuss this? Lu Chen nodded and temporarily left the Divinity Devil's sacred courtyard. Tian Xian and the others discussed for a while and called Lu Chen back. Solipsistic, we have discussed this. Even we can't take out so many resources with your conditions. Tian Xian said, you should know that we have already left our original forces and haven't fought for resources for a long time. We just have some spares in our hands. We can give you 80 million cash withdrawal scroll, 60 spiritual origin magic treasures. As for the quality, they are much better than what your sacred courtyard is using now. 70 sets of high-grade heaven-grade cultivation techniques, 1 set of wind elemental immortal technique, and 100 dragon phoenix nirvana pills. As for half-divine tools, Brother Du Kuang, we do have 2 or 3 of them. However, we need to keep them for our own tribulation. Without half-divine tools, our strength will be greatly reduced. Lu Chen thought for a while. What Tian Xian said was true. He couldn't ask for the resources they needed to make a living. Of course, Lu Chen offered a sky-high price to give the other party room to bargain. Regardless of whether they gave him resources or not, he would still need to undergo tribulation. It was equivalent to making a profit for free. Moreover, the other party was even willing to give him a wind-type immortal technique and 100 high-grade immortal pills. This was beyond Lu Chen's expectations. Lu Chen was silent for a long time. Finally, he shook his head helplessly. Sai, you didn't give me the conditions I expected. Then I can only guarantee that I will transcend the tribulation in 3 years. Lu Chen was just saying. Of course, he wanted to transcend the tribulation as soon as possible. The main reason was to let the other party feel that Lu Chen didn't gain any advantage and instead lost out. 3 years it is. We can wait for 1 more year. Everyone answered without hesitation. Lu Chen nodded. This deal was officially finalized. 3 days later, a large number of resources were sent to the Divine Devil Academy. A sea of clouds was shocked to see so many resources being sent into the Academy's warehouse. He looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. Nameless, did you really agree to their request? Lu Chen nodded. Anyway, I want to transcend the tribulation as soon as possible. Now, not only are there people giving me resources, but they're also doing me a favor. How long did you agree to transcend the tribulation? 3 years. Lu Chen's expression was solemn. 3 years. He didn't know if he could make it in time for the final battle. Those who participated in the final battle were the 10 great Celestial Supremes. That Celestial Supremes shouldn't be Zhongxianji's Celestial Supremes. They were the 10 strongest human Celestial Supremes in the entire galaxy. Real Celestial Supremes. 1 in 10 billion? Maybe even more. And he hadn't transcended the tribulation yet. Thinking of this, Lu Chen muttered, 3 years is too long. I'll try to transcend the tribulation in 2 years. 2 years. You're now a 9-star Theo the Great. Who knows how many years it'll take just to raise the upper limit of your battle soul's attributes? A sea of clouds said. Lu Chen smiled. Of course I have a way. Old Sea, during this time, I may be out training. I'll leave the Academy's matters to you guys. Also, you old Yi Longxiang and the others. If you can level up, take some cash extraction scrolls to level up. I said that I'll leave the cash extraction scrolls for the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons, But I didn't say that I'll only give it to the disciples. They won't say anything if I give it to you guys. A sea of clouds was stunned. This? Lu Chen patted a sea of clouds' shoulder and said with a smile, I don't care what bottlenecks you guys encountered in the past. Now that you're from the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons, your path of cultivation shouldn't stop here. A sea of clouds' eyes suddenly lit up. He was already so old. Could he still continue? A sea of clouds said, Yi Fan and the others are trying to decipher the characteristics of the first level of the heavenly word nourishing body technique. If they can decipher it, this technique's level will be extremely high. It can help us old guys improve our battle soul's attributes and break through our bottlenecks. Sure enough, a sea of clouds and the others, other than the limitations of their physical bodies, their biggest obstacle was their battle soul's attributes. Oh, how's their progress? Actually, their techniques are better than Tian Yu's. Chu Tian, Xiao Zhan, Wu Xian, and Skyfall are all slacking. Only Yi Fan is deciphering it day and night. Lu Chen frowned. Why is that kid working so hard? Is his own technique not as good as Tian Yu's? That's not it. His technique's level is the highest. I gave him a price. If he can solve the first level's spiritual energy circulation problem, the Academy will reward him with 5 million spirit stones. This is 5 million spirit stones? That's too cheap. A sea of clouds secretly pulled Lu Chen and winked at him. If you really want to give him a reasonable price, spirit stones can't even measure it, right? After the first level, there's still the second and third level. When the time comes, we won't be able to afford it. It just so happens that he's short of money recently. He owes a lot of money to the Black Armor King, so he's not picky. Lu Chen blinked. Didn't Yi Fan take first place in 5 or 6 competitions before? The prize money should be several million, right? Why hasn't he come ashore yet? Don't talk about the prize money, he even sold the trophy. A sea of clouds shook his head. That guy burns more money than anyone else when it comes to cultivation. In the end, he's improved so fast recently. Plus, his business EQ is basically negative. Now, the more he earns, the more he owes. Oh, I heard that he just paid off his debt a while ago. Later, he couldn't help but gamble and owe a lot of money. Is this guy really going to lose every time he gambles? Lu Chen sighed. Forget it. Fortunately, his strength improved fast enough. At least his terrifying fortune didn't affect his strength. In any case, after receiving a large wave of sponsorship, the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons' current wealth suddenly became a lot thicker. In addition to the monthly subsidy for the Holy Academy's ranking, Lu Chen didn't have to worry about the development of the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons for a short period of time. That afternoon, Lu Chen packed up his things, summoned the 9 wings, and prepared to leave the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons. Standing in the clouds, Lu Chen looked down at the academy. From the very beginning, there were only a few teaching pavilions and a few dormitories. There were only him and a sea of clouds. Now, there were nearly 10,000 disciples. There were a lot of talents. All the facilities were open. The Holy Academy of Gods and Demons was no longer the shabby little academy it used to be. This time, Lu Chen didn't know how long it would take to find the star core, but when he returned, it would also be the day he left the 6th layer of heaven. Looking at the figures of the disciples who were working hard to cultivate in the martial arts practice field, Lu Chen took a deep breath and slowly said, "Little brats, take care." Chapter 1167. Lu Chen had already figured out the matter of the Thunder's sacred courtyard. The reason why the mountain people recommended Lu Chen to go there was probably because the Thunder sacred courtyard was closer to the Thunder sacred ground. Judging from the names of the 2 places, perhaps the disciples of the Thunder sacred courtyard could gain some additional advantages. If it was the previous Lu Chen, the Thunder sacred courtyard would be a place he couldn't avoid. But now, he had accidentally fused with the dragon crystal and obtained a mutated dragon species. And he had healed the weakened state of the dragon crystal by absorbing the star core's spiritual energy. In the process of absorbing the star core's spiritual energy, Lu Chen could also quickly increase his attributes. Directly absorbing the star core's spiritual energy was a faster way to cultivate than in the Thunder's sacred ground. Now, Lu Chen naturally didn't need to go to the Thunder's sacred courtyard anymore. He just needed to find more star cores. However, in the mirror's 7 elements to 1 array, Lu Chen also found a problem. The best time was about half a month after absorbing a certain star core for the first time. After this time, although he could still increase his strength, the effect would become weaker and weaker. And the larger the planet's star core, the more obvious the effect would be if no one had discovered it. Therefore, Lu Chen's target was a large planet where no star core had been found. Asking one by one was obviously too inefficient. The best way was to find Taihao. Lu Chen set off from Zhongxingu and headed to the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. After interacting with Taihao a few times, Lu Chen's relationship with the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace had become much closer. When Lu Chen arrived at the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace, someone directly brought him to Taihao. Senior Taihao, I haven't thanked you for the matter of the Immortal Palace's Meru realm. This time, I'll have to trouble you again. Lu Chen said with some embarrassment. Taihao smiled slightly. If the dark corrosion isn't removed, I'm afraid it will cause trouble everywhere. You've already helped me a lot by handling this matter properly. There's no need to thank me. Lu Chen continued. Senior Taihao mentioned that the Purple Heavenly Palace and the Heavenly Music Pavilion were conspiring. Have you found out the truth? Speaking of this, Taihao unconsciously withdrew his smile and his expression turned solemn. Tianyin Old Geezer has already come out of seclusion. He must have gained a lot this time. As for Purple Knight Son of Heaven's side, experts are also about to come out of seclusion. When the time comes, the 6th heaven will probably be filled with bloodshed. Lu Chen frowned slightly. Senior Taihao, doesn't the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace have an expert stronger than Old Man Tianyin? Taihao smiled bitterly. Let's put it this way. Of course, my Royal Heaven Immortal Palace isn't afraid of the experts from the Violet Heaven Palace. I have at least 80% confidence in defeating them. But the troublesome one was Old Ghost Tianyin. The Tianyin Old Devil is an exception. He reached the peak of the 9 stars of the Human King realm in his early years. Logically speaking, after such a long time, the heavenly tribulation should have found him even if he did not go to the Tower of Heaven to undergo the tribulation. In the end, that guy had a magic weapon that could avoid the heavenly tribulation. It was called the Tianyin Thunder Pond. Lu Chen nodded. He had heard Tian Xian and the others mention this item before. Therefore, those stronger than him had already undergone the tribulation. Naturally, they wouldn't stay at the 6th heaven. As for the rest, I'm afraid it would be very, very difficult for them to have his strength. Taihao's meaning was self-evident. Old Man Tianyin was the source of his fear. Lu Chen thought for a while and said, Senior Taihao, if the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace needs Lu Chen, just send me a voice transmission. Taihao's eyes widened. Lu Chen, you are willing to fight for the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace? You should know that Old Man Tianyin isn't an ordinary 9 stars peak. Recently, there has been an anomaly in the celestial phenomenon. The root cause is related to Old Man Tianyin. Lu Chen snorted coldly. Senior Taihao has done me a favor. I should repay the favor of a drop of water with a gushing spring, not to mention the fact that Senior has helped me several times. I'm not interested in the celestial phenomenon. I only know that he shouldn't provoke me. Otherwise, no matter what 9 stars peak he is, I will flatten the heavenly music parlor. Taihao took a deep breath and smiled. Lu Chen, Exenter's judgment is really right. You are a trustworthy friend. However, you have to remember one thing. The more fetters you have, the fiercer the heavenly tribulation, Taihao said. Others would try their best to get rid of their fetters and desires before undergoing the tribulation. However, you're still so casual. Plus, you are the master of the fiend god-defying sect and the extremely fierce celestial phenomenon. With all these factors added together, I am really a little worried about your heavenly tribulation. Lu Chen also knew that Taihao's worry wasn't groundless. Without even thinking, how could Jiu Tian let him successfully undergo the tribulation? No matter what heavenly tribulation it is, I am me. Lu Chen said firmly. If I forget my friends and family, forget the past, then even if I undergo the tribulation and become an immortal, that person will no longer be me, Lu Chen. What's the point of becoming an immortal like this? If this is the rule, then I will break the rule. If this is the great Tao, then I will go against the current. Lu Chen's words made Taihao's eyes widen. This guy, who was usually approachable and even a little sloppy, was really admirable when he got serious. Perhaps it was because of this that Lu Chen was qualified to enter the origin world in the mountain realm. Break the rule, go against the current. Taihao said angrily. I've seen countless people, but I've never seen a guy with a temperament like yours. Lu Chen smiled. Senior Taihao, you flatter me. Lu Chen, I'll get someone to prepare a document for you right away, but it may only be ready tomorrow. As the saying goes, sharpening the axe won't delay the work of cutting wood. Don't be in a hurry. Tonight, don't leave. Let's have a few drinks. Lu Chen also knew that there must be a lot of information about the various continents. It was good enough that they could get it done in one day, so he naturally had no reason to decline. At the banquet, Lu Chen, Taihao, and a group of people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace drank to their heart's content. However, the strange thing was that Tian Xen was not at the banquet. After the banquet, Lu Chen returned to his room to rest. Outside the door, a beautiful figure was hiding in the dark and pacing back and forth. There was also a small person standing on her shoulder. Master, do you really want me to use such a despicable method to get Lu Chen? Tian Xen said in distress. Xen, you saw it too. This kid is too strong. Today, your father and the others finally got him drunk. If you don't use this opportunity, there won't be another chance. But Master, Xen, I originally thought that he was a couple with Jiu, but it turns out that we were all wrong. They're just ordinary friends. The small person said anxiously. We're all adults, right? He's not married and you're not married. Isn't it normal for something to happen when love is strong? But you want me to drug him? How is this love? What drug? That's just a little thing to liven things up. Don't you think I don't know? Xen, let me tell you, if you miss this opportunity, this kid might leave after the tribulation. You'll regret it for the rest of your life. No matter what, he's still someone with the bloodline of the Chaos Dragon God. It's not wrong for the bloodline of the heavenly celestial tribe. With the strong joining forces, our child will definitely stand at the finish line the moment he's born. This? Master, I think we should just forget about it. I'm afraid he'll hate me. Hey, what? How is this unfair to him? The small person said anxiously. Besides, I'm asking you to drug yourself, not him. Why would he hate you? When the time comes, he'll be the one who willingly detoxifies your poison. Tian Xen was still hesitating. Then, what if he doesn't detoxify me? What are you afraid of? I've already prepared the antidote for you. Don't worry and do it. I guarantee that nothing will go wrong. In the end, Tian Xen could not resist her master's persuasion. She knocked on the door nervously. Lu Chen's voice came from inside. Tian Xen gritted her teeth and walked in with a pot of wine. Chapter 1168. Lu Chen was a little drunk. When he saw Tian Xen walk in, he immediately felt that this woman was even prettier than usual. Lu Chen frowned slightly. What's the matter? Tian Xen was a little uncomfortable. She didn't even dare to look into Lu Chen's eyes. After a long while, she came back to her senses. Oh, it's nothing. I wasn't at home before, so I didn't get to drink with you. After I found out that you were leaving, I felt that it was a pity to miss it. I brought a small pot of soft wine, Lu Chen frowned. Tian Xen liked to drink too? She actually came here to drink with him? He didn't expect Tian Xen to be such a bold woman. Tian Xen saw that Lu Chen hadn't said anything, so she hurriedly said, I was rude. You've already drunk a lot. I think we should have another chance next time. After saying that, she turned around to leave. Stop. Who said I can't drink anymore? Lu Chen called out to Tian Xen. How much can your small pot of wine contain? Come, let's drink a few cups. I think we should do it next time. What next time? Just this time I have to drink. Tian Xen was speechless. She had wanted to leave, but Lu Chen dragged her back. The two of them sat at the table and Tian Xen took off her veil. Lu Chen glanced at her. This woman was a little familiar. You took off your veil in front of me before? Oh, I remember now. You were the guide disciple at the prodigy competition. Lu Chen remembered. I was wondering why your eyes looked so familiar. So we've met before. That day, the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace was too busy. You went to help, right? What was this guy thinking? She was the young mistress of the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. Why would she become a guide disciple? Wasn't it to see him? Tian Xen nodded awkwardly. But yes, there really weren't enough people that day. Lu Chen nodded appreciatively. What a good girl. Come, let me fill it up for you. Can you drink? If you can't, then drink less. This wine isn't too strong. I won't get drunk even if I drink a whole bottle, Tian Xen replied absent-mindedly. Well, that's good. Otherwise, you'll say that I bullied you. Lu Chen filled their wine glasses to the brim. Let me toast you first. The last time you accompanied me to the lower realm, the journey was much more interesting than when I went alone. When Tian Xen heard this, she temporarily forgot her nervousness. She tilted her head and looked at Lu Chen. Really? Lu Chen nodded. Of course. With a beauty accompanying me, it won't be so boring. Tian Xen was secretly delighted. It seemed that Lu Chen did not hate her. At this moment, someone tugged at her clothes. Only then did Tian Xen remember the purpose of this trip. Honey trap. If he missed this opportunity, there wouldn't be another one. Lu Chen had just raised his wine glass when Tian Xen raised her hand. I've been feeling a little unwell recently, so I'll take it with the wine. Lu Chen immediately asked with concern, Oh? What's wrong with your body? Where are you feeling unwell? Didn't Senior Tai Hao find a pharmacist to treat you? Tian Xen avoided his gaze. It's nothing. I just need to recuperate a little. It's just that I'm a girl. Oh. Lu Chen immediately understood. He also had a younger sister, so he would not ask too much about a girl's matters. Is it okay to drink wine? This wine is fine. The effect will be better after it's dissolved. Lu Chen was relieved. He waited for Tian Xen to dissolve the medicine before raising his glass. Come, Xen. After drinking the wine, Lu Chen had just put down his glass. When he looked up, he saw that Tian Xen's face was slightly red, and there were fine beads of sweat on her forehead. What's wrong with you? Is the effect of this medicine so strong? I put a little too much. Tian Xen said with a red face. Why do I feel hot all of a sudden? Lu Chen, are you hot? I'm fine. Xen, are you sure you're okay? Lu Chen was a little worried. That's strange. It shouldn't be. Tian Xen took out another medicine and looked at it. Then she turned pale with fright. Oh no, I took the wrong medicine. Lu Chen immediately became nervous. Then what should we do? I'll go find Senior Tai Hao. Don't. Tian Xen pulled Lu Chen, her eyes a little hazy. We don't have the antidote for this medicine. What should we do? Little Green is not here either. Lu Chen was worried. Xen, how much time do we have left? Tell me what medicine you need. I'll find a way to find it immediately. Tian Xen's face became redder and redder, and her eyes became more and more seductive. She kept pulling open the clothes around her neck, revealing Lu Chen's snow-white skin. Too late. I took the Jade Passion Pill. The medicine is already taking effect. Jade Passion Pill? Lu Chen was not good at alchemy, so he did not know what kind of pill it was. Is this heat poison? It's not heat poison, it's love poison. As she spoke, Tian Xen suddenly stood up and pressed her body tightly against Lu Chen's body. The only way now is for Big Brother Lu Chen to help me detoxify. Having a beautiful woman in his arms, this was Lu Chen's dream. Looking at the disheveled Tian Xen, Lu Chen did not know where he got so much saliva from. He could not even finish swallowing it all. Tian Xen was leaning against his chest. Her lips were slightly parted, and her eyes were full of desire. As a man who always craved beautiful encounters, Lu Chen almost exploded. However, his rationality won over his desire. Senior Tai Hao is so good to me. How can I do such a despicable thing to you? Big brother Lu Chen, don't think so much. You're saving me by curing me. I'm so hot. Tian Xing was about to take off her outer clothes. Just this alone was enough for Lu Chen to lose control. If she took off her clothes, Lu Chen knew that he would not be able to control himself when the time came. No, we're all friends. I can't do this. Lu Chen used all his strength to control his desire. He grabbed Tian Xing's hand and stopped her from moving. Damn it, I've been in this world for so many years. It's rare for me to encounter such a good thing, but I can't do it. It's too bad. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and tried to keep himself rational. That's right, Gray Crow mentioned something about the vitality pill. Little Green was afraid that I would be harmed outside, so he left me a few antidotes. They might be useful. Thinking of this, Lu Chen took out a small blue pill and stuffed it into Tian Xing's mouth. Little Green was indeed a master alchemist. The antidote immediately took effect. Tian Xing's flushed face returned to normal. Her eyes, which were full of desire, also became clear. Not long after, Tian Xing came back to her senses and saw that she was tightly clinging to Lu Chen. Her clothes were untidy, and her cheeks were red. It was too embarrassing. Lu Chen sat to the side and was silent for a long time. Then he said, Xing, are you okay? Tian Xing lowered her head. I'm sorry, big brother Lu Chen. Sigh, you took the wrong medicine. How can I blame you? But next time, you must look carefully. You're lucky you met me. If you met a bad person, you would have suffered a great loss. Tian Xing nodded with tears in her eyes. Go and rest early, Lu Chen said. Okay. Tian Xing lowered her head and silently left the room. On the way back, Tian Xing's eyes were red. Master, I've already done this much, and big brother Lu Chen would rather give me the antidote than want me. He definitely doesn't like me. The little guy was so angry that his teeth were itching. That kid is really stupid. He doesn't even want me? He deserves to be single for the rest of his life. Master, didn't you say that other than you, no one else can make the antidote? Tian Xing said angrily. Who knew that Little Green would be able to refine such a high-grade pill? That's definitely a high-grade antidote. Sigh, I didn't succeed this time. It'll probably be difficult next time. On the other side, Lu Chen sat in front of the window in a daze. He couldn't fall asleep for a long time. The scene that had just happened still lingered in his mind. After a long time, Lu Chen let out a long sigh. His eyes were filled with resentment. Little Green, little beast, you two were cultivating far away. How could you ruin my plans like this? Why did you refine the antidote for no reason? If anyone wants to poison me like this, then let them do it. Do you think I'm afraid? Sigh, I've missed a beautiful encounter again. I don't know when I'll have such an opportunity again. Chapter 1169. The next morning, Lu Chen got the information Tai Hao gave him. He left the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace and went straight to the chosen continent. This time, Lu Chen's purpose was to improve his strength. The Hyaming continent was originally a large planet. Unfortunately, 90% of it was covered by the sea and only 10% by land. There were not many colleges here, and their strength was relatively low among the level 6 continents. However, there was a famous forbidden area, the Grand Canyon of Sea Demons. Lu Chen went 10,000 meters deep and found the ocean star core. The barren sand continent was not small, but the climate was bad. Most of the land was desertified. At first glance, it looked like a desert. There were even fewer colleges here than in the Hyaming continent. People from other continents rarely came here. Lu Chen found the biggest desert in the barren sand continent. He waited for 2 months before he met the sand scorpion. He followed it into the world in the sand and went all the way down to find the barren sand star core. The Liuwu continent, the Imperial Miasma continent, and the Ice River continent. The less people there were and the worse the climate was, the more likely it was that the star core had not been exploited. Lu Chen traveled among these continents in a year. He encountered hundreds of monsters that he had never seen before and experienced many unimaginable dangers. Some found the star core, and some returned empty-handed. In a dense forest in the Greenfield continent, Lu Chen was cooking. The Greenfield continent was one of the more comfortable planets Lu Chen had visited in the past year. The forest here was dense, and the plants had strong vitality. Basically, they could not be eradicated. Therefore, although the environment was beautiful, it was not suitable to open a college. Harry Ball, Originator, Rhubarb, and Xiaomin went out to play. Lu Chen was busy cooking alone. After he finished eating, Lu Chen didn't see Little Furball and Little Originator come back. Lu Chen wasn't worried. After all, there weren't many people who could defeat Little Furball and Little Originator. They probably forgot to come back. Now, Lu Chen had reached the level of a 7-star Savage King. Cultivating next to the star nucleus would not only increase the attributes of his fighting soul, but also increase the 3 attributes of his own body very quickly. It was just that in the past, some powerful stellar cores could increase the upper limit of the physical body. However, the stellar cores that Lu Chen found recently did not have this effect. His upper limit of the physical body remained at 30 times the spiritual power and did not increase any further. I don't know if it's because my current physique can only reach the upper limit of 30 times. Lu Chen shook his head. Although the stellar nuclei he found were not as exaggerated as the stellar nuclei of the underworld, they were all stellar nuclei of large planets that he had carefully selected. Judging from the energy of the stellar nuclei, they were all extremely rich in spiritual power. It was fine if 1 or 2 of them didn't improve, but if 7 or 8 of them didn't improve, then it might not be a matter of luck. However, although the upper limit did not increase, the abundance of the large star core's spiritual energy had increased Lu Chen's current 3-dimensional attributes by quite a bit. No matter how high the upper limit is, it's useless. It's not bad to be able to increase the current 3-dimensional level. Lu Chen did not dwell on it any longer. In addition, Lu Chen's fire affinity had already reached an extremely terrifying level. After a few rounds of cultivation, his fire affinity had already reached 50,000. The true fire mysterious ice sword art required both ice and fire affinity to reach 20,000 to cultivate. However, Lu Chen's ice affinity was only 0. He had also tried to use the ice state of the 9 refined ice fire pearl to cultivate and increase his ice affinity. However, he discovered a very fatal problem. Every time his ice affinity increased by 1 point, his fire affinity would decrease by 2 points. In other words, these two were in a relationship where one decreased while the other increased. Lu Chen calculated for a moment. If I want both ice and fire affinity to reach 20,000, my fire affinity will need at least 60,000, as expected of an immortal technique. Ordinary people can't cultivate immortal techniques even if they obtain them. Lu Chen sighed. Fortunately, there was still plenty of time. At this rate, he should be able to increase his fire affinity to 60,000. At this moment, the little critter sent a telepathic message. Lu Chen checked the telepathic message. Dad, Sister Little Green has already refined the 8th grade Divine Buddha Golden Lotus Elixir. Lu Chen smiled. Little Green had refined a 7th grade elixir before. This time, Little Green had refined an 8th grade elixir, which meant that Little Green's strength had improved again. It seemed that Little Green had also been improving. He put away the telepathic message. Little Furball and the others had indeed returned. Little Furball's mouth was full of blood. It seemed that it had eaten meat again. Xiaomin sat on Little Originator's back and happily told Lu Chen about the wild beasts they had encountered. Little Furball had killed all of them. Rhubarb held the 9 Revolutions Golden Crow mirror in its mouth and was in a daze. Lu Chen suddenly realized that such a leisurely life was really pleasant. If Little Green and the little critter were also here, cultivating leisurely in this Greenfield continent would also be a wonderful thing. No wonder so many people who were about to cross the tribulation chose to live in seclusion. If it were not for the 3-year agreement, Lu Chen would really want to settle down here. Time flew. It had been almost 2 years since Lu Chen went out to gain experience. The number of disciples in the Divinity Devil Academy had now reached 13,000, and this was under the condition that the Academy had reduced the enrollment. If there were more people, the intentionless mountain would not be able to afford it. In the past 2 years, the strength of the Divinity Devil Academy had become stronger and stronger. Unless there was no restriction on the cultivation time of the disciples, or some old disciples of the Divinity Devil Academy came out and snatched some rankings from the Divinity Devil Academy, the other competitions were all swept away by the Divinity Devil Academy. Almost all the exchange disciples of the Divinity Devil Academy who went out would be ranked in the top 3 of the competition list of the major academies. This phenomenon was not strange to the disciples of other academies. There was no other way. After all, the disciples of the Divinity Devil Academy were all monsters. And the Divinity Devil list had already become the newcomer list that surpassed the Zhongxian Genius list, becoming the highest-ranking list in Xinyuan continent. Even the Zhongxian had to send out disciples to compete, and the top 5 of the Divinity Devil list were occupied by Yi Fan, Chu Tian, Xiao Zhan, Wu Xian, and Skyfall all year round. Among them, Xiao Zhan, Wu Xian, and Skyfall's rankings often changed. Sometimes, Chu Tian would even be pushed down to second place. But Yi Fan's first place had been in the dust for a long time, and no one could shake it. Many people said that if it were not for the solipsistic, Yi Fan would definitely be the genius with the strongest potential in the past few years. Yi Fan rarely responded to this. Only when asked would he say, "That's my dean, a teacher and a friend. Comparing myself to my master is disrespectful to my master." After the underworld invasion and the battle of the dark erosion, the sixth heaven seemed to have not been so peaceful for a long time. In the heavenly music parlor, a man of about 60 years old was wearing a sleeping robe with his chest open. He sat on the throne with beautiful women beside him, and there was good wine and food on the table. Below him, the current pavilion master of the heavenly music parlor, Lu Shui, Green Justice Hall, High Justice Hall, Elegant Justice Hall, and so on. Not only that, even the Purple Knight Emperor and a group of people from the Purple Heaven Palace were here. Even if very few people had seen this old man's true appearance, it was not difficult to guess who he was from the identity of the people standing below. It was the guy who had lived in the 9-star monarch realm for more than 600 years. Heavenly Music Old Ghost. Chapter 1170. Old Ancestor Tianyin, solipsistic, has been out training for 2 years. If we continue to drag on like this, I'm afraid things will change. Purple Knight Emperor changed his usual arrogant and despotic attitude and said respectfully. The man on the seat teased the beauty beside him. At this moment he finally raised his eyes slightly and looked at Ziyi. "Ziyi, are you dissatisfied with me?" Purple Knight Son of Heaven hurriedly said, No, this junior wouldn't dare. It's just that I'm afraid that Lu Chen's strength will increase too quickly. Tianyin Old Ghost snorted coldly. So what if he's a 9-star human king? Can you compare with me? This of course not. Who in the world doesn't know that although old ancestor Tianyin has yet to become an immortal, his strength is comparable to that of a genuine immortal? Tianyin Old Ghost smiled and shook his head. Whether or not I can compare to a true immortal, I don't dare to boast about it. However, as long as that kid hasn't gone through the tribulation, he can't possibly be my match. Lu Shui said to Purple Knight Emperor, "Purple Knight Emperor, don't be impatient. Our old ancestor has just finished his great work and has been practicing his cultivation technique for the past 2 years. Sharpening the axe won't delay the work of cutting wood." The heavenly sound Old Ghost smiled and said, "My heavenly sound demonic technique has already been thoroughly integrated a year ago. Flowing water, why do you need to lie to him? This year, I will indulge in pleasure. What do you think?" Purple Knight Son of Heaven took in a deep breath. It seemed like old ancestor Tianyin was dissatisfied with him. "Old ancestor Tianyin, you are being too serious. You have been in seclusion for 100 years, and it is rare for you to come out of seclusion. Naturally, you need to relax a little." Only then did old freak Tianyin calm down and say impatiently, "All right, I'm staying in the 6th heaven for a long time and I don't want to be under anyone. That royal heaven immortal palace dares to call itself an immortal palace and command the sixth heaven just because it has a few more true immortals and loose immortals? It would have been fine if I hadn't come out of seclusion, but now that I have, the sixth heaven is no longer under the control of Taihao of the immortals. Send a letter of challenge to the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace. 1 month later, in the Huashan continent, I will have a life and death battle with the 8 heavenly kings of the Immortal Palace. If he doesn't allow it, I will flatten the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. As he spoke, Tianyin Old Ghost seemed to have thought of something. I heard that Taihao's daughter is the #1 beauty in the 6th heaven. I finally have a chance to take her in. Tianyin Old Devil was finally going to make his move. Everyone looked at each other excitedly. Fortunately, it's a pity that we snatched the immortal emperor's Sumeru realm. That's a place of great opportunity in the 6th heaven. I've long been unhappy with the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. This time, the old ancestor will make a move and let them know who is the strongest power in the 6th heavenly layer. If old ancestor makes a move, he will definitely flatten the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. However, Purple Knight Emperor still seemed to be frowning. Nephew Purple Knight, are you still worried about Yi Fan and Solipsistic? Tianyin Old Devil immediately saw through Purple Knight's worries. Ancestor is indeed wise. If we don't get rid of these two, they'll probably become a huge problem in the future. Purple Knight Tianzi said. Old Fogey Tianyin snorted coldly, don't worry. After I destroy the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, I'll naturally go and take care of the two of them. Isn't it just God and Demon defying fate? Without the complete set, it's just an ordinary item. And it's impossible for him to complete God and Demon defying fate in this lifetime. I really don't understand what you have to worry about. Purple Knight Tianzi said, Ancestor, actually Lu Chen, that kid, not only does he have God and Demon defying fate, he also has the Chaos Dragon God's bloodline, 2 great intense spaces, 3 super powerful battle pets, and the 2nd level of spirit chi refinement. In short, his strength is also extremely strong. And that guy changed the weather together with you, Ancestor. It's enough to show that his strength can't be underestimated. Old Fogey Tianyin's face was somewhat unhappy as he said disdainfully, compared with me? He's not worthy. Very strong, right? Just nice. I also want to see how the strongest in the 6th heavenly layer that those people talk about will beg for mercy in front of me, Old Fogey Tianyin. Hearing the old ancestor say this, Purple Knight Tianzi was finally relieved. Later, the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace received the Heavenly Music Pavilion's tactics. Old Fogey Tianyin challenged the 8 heavenly kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace to a life and death battle on the Huashan continent. If they didn't agree, Old Fogey Tianyin would lead the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the Purple Heavenly Palace, and the other forces that submitted to him to flatten the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Simba looked at her father worriedly. Ever since her father became the master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, his expression had never been so serious. The little person on Exara's shoulder also frowned. Taihao, what do we do now? Taihao took a deep breath. Senior brother Ku Rua, the Heavenly Music Pavilion has already announced this to the world. If I don't agree, they will have a good reason to attack. Moreover, the forces in the world will ridicule the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace for being cowardly. In the future, we will have no prestige to speak of. It seems that we have to ask the senior brothers to come out of seclusion. The little person was still worried. I don't know what Dao realm Old Fogey Tianyin has comprehended. Last time, he didn't dare to confront the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace head-on. I don't know either. None of the people we sent could bring back any news. Now, we can only be sure that it must be a very strong Dao realm. That's why he's so confident. No matter what, the Heavenly Music Pavilion's letter of challenge had already arrived. The Royal Heaven Immortal Palace had to accept it. Let's go. Let's go to the Heavenly God Palace and ask the senior uncles to come out of seclusion. Tianixin nodded, yes. Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, Heavenly God Palace. This place was extremely wide. At a glance, it was like a continent floating in midair. There were 8 huge statues around it. After arriving here, Taihao nodded to Tian What the rest is up to you. After saying that, Taihao's body actually disappeared from the spot. To awaken the 8 heavenly kings in one go, you have to bleed a little. The little person said. Nodded. Master, you should go too. I will wake you all up. And all right. After saying that, Ku Rua also disappeared. Out of the 3 who came, only Tian Xen was left. Tian Xen walked to the center of the 8 statues. There was a strange statue there. In the center was a hollow disc. Everywhere on the disc, there were stone tracks that extended outwards. The stone tracks led to the 8 god statues. Tian Xen stood in front of the disc and used a dagger to cut open her wrist. She allowed the blood to drip onto the disc and flow along the stone tracks. When the blood flowed to the front of the 8 god statues, the god statues suddenly moved. The 8 god statues moved to the side, revealing a stone coffin beneath the god statues. The stone coffin opened, revealing the entrance to another world inside. Not long later, 5 men and 3 women walked out from the teleportation door. These 8 people all had the demeanor of a transcendent being. Some were handsome and some were as elegant as fairies. Among the 8, there were Taihao's and Ku Rua's true bodies. However, seeing her father Taihao's true body and her master Ku Rua's true body, Tian Xen's eyes turned red, but she did not directly acknowledge them. Martial uncles, the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace has encountered a sudden change. Xen had no choice but to disturb martial uncle's cultivation. Taihao narrowed his eyes and looked at Xen. His tone was cold as he said, "What happened to the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace?" The person in front of her was her true father. However, Xen knew that since they were going to undergo the tribulation, they had already severed their familial ties. Therefore, in Taihao's eyes, this daughter of his was the same as any other disciple of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. As for that playful master of hers who liked to give her rotten ideas, it was the same. This was the world of the strong. A world without emotions. Chapter 1171. At the same time, on a deserted planet. Extreme ice flame explosion. With a roar, a white-haired man swung his sword, and a terrifying sword aura split the surface of the sea, revealing the seabed. After the seawater was split, the surface of the split first turned into ice, and then it exploded from the inside. Suddenly, the waves rolled and set off a 100-meter wave. Between heaven and earth, it was as if heaven and earth were falling apart. Lu Chen looked at the effect of this sword in shock. Is this still human? This is the power of an immortal technique? It can really split mountains and split seas. Lu Chen was in disbelief. This was only the first level of the true fire-ice sword technique. Its power had already surpassed the earth-fire-burning heaven. The second level required 50,000 points of ice and fire affinity, but what troubled Lu Chen was that as long as he increased his ice element affinity, his fire element affinity would decrease. If he increased his fire element affinity, his ice element affinity would decrease. 50,000 points is not difficult. Previously, my fire element affinity had reached 60,000 points, but how do I cultivate these two opposite elements at the same time? Lu Chen checked some techniques. There were 3 levels of extreme ice flame explosion, which required 20,000, 30,000, and 40,000 points of ice and fire affinity. Currently, Lu Chen had only used the power of the first level. The second level of the true fire-ice sword technique was called Ice and Fire Heavenly Domain. The prerequisite for cultivation was that both the ice and fire element affinity had to reach 50,000 points. It also required one to cultivate step by step and could not be continuously upgraded. It was because of this that Lu Chen could not increase his fire element affinity to 150,000 points and then convert it to ice element affinity. In short, to cultivate the true fire-ice sword technique, one could not take shortcuts. However, Lu Chen had not found a way to increase both elements at the same time. Currently, he could only cultivate to the first level of extreme ice flame explosion. Looking at his badge, Lu Chen took a deep breath. It had been 2 years, and he was now at the peak of the 9-star king level. All his attributes had been raised to the maximum. His body had 7 million spiritual energy and 210 million third dimensions. This included the 40% increase provided by the creation bloodline and 10 wings. In other words, his spiritual energy was 2 million more than others. His third dimension was even more terrifying, reaching 30 times his spiritual energy. His battle soul had also improved. 20 million spiritual energy, 220 million third dimension. It was said that the heavenly tribulation was the heavenly tribulation of the body, so the battle soul attribute was useless. Therefore, Lu Chen only increased the battle soul 3D to the point where it would not obstruct the battle soul 3D of his body. In addition, Lu Chen also confirmed one thing. In his current state, he could only increase the size of his body by 30 times. Of course, this was already a very frightening attribute. One had to know that even for the Sky Devil race and the God Descendant race, their three-dimensional spiritual power was only about 15 times. There were only 6 years left until the final battle. There was not much time left. Lu Chen could not stay in the sixth heaven any longer. I'll think about whether or not I can increase my ice and fire affinity and familiarize myself with the usage of polar ice flame explosion. After that, I'll head back. Lu Chen had made up his mind. At this moment, Lu Chen received a voice transmission from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Lu Chen felt strange and opened the voice transmission. The voice transmission was not from Taihao, but from Tian Xing. Brother Lu Chen, it's me, Xing. The Heavenly Music Pavilion has issued a battle to the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. In 10 days, the Heavenly Music Pavilion will fight the 8 Heavenly Kings in the Huashan continent. Will you come? Lu Chen frowned. The Heavenly Music Pavilion had finally made a move. He also knew that the Purple Sky Palace had allied with the Heavenly Music Pavilion. The Heavenly Music Pavilion would deal with the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace first. Next, he would definitely not let the Demonic Academy go. In addition, he had promised that as long as the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace needed him, he would not shirk his responsibility. Now was the time for him to make a move. Strange, it's actually Tian Xing, who sent me the message. Lu Chen was a little confused. He should have given his voice transmission talisman to Taihao. Why didn't Taihao send a voice transmission but Tian Xing? I don't care. I can't ignore this. I have to go and take a look. After saying that, Lu Chen looked at the sea in front of him, which was still turbulent, and took a deep breath. This time, other than the matter of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, he had to go through the tribulation. Now that he thought about it, it was interesting. Going through the tribulation. Had he, who used to work in a restaurant, ever thought that he would one day go through the tribulation? Jiutian, I'd like to see what kind of tribulation you're going to use to stop me. Lu Chen said coldly. The Huashan continent. This was a small continent with no people. It used to be glorious. The Heavenly Legends competition held by the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace was held here many times. It was just that too much time had passed. The current Huashan continent was in ruins. At a glance, there were only some low vegetation and some withered old trees. This desolate planet became the best choice for the final battle. There was still half a month before the so-called final battle of the strongest in the 6th layer of heaven. There was already an endless stream of visitors coming through the portal here. The Heavenly Music Pavilion had issued a challenge to the 8 Heavenly Kings of the Imperial Heaven. This news had already spread in the 6th layer of heaven. A large number of experts poured into the Huashan continent just to witness this great battle of the century. It said that the Heavenly Music Pavilion has comprehended an incredible Tao state. I wonder if the 8 Heavenly Kings will still be undefeated. I think it's unlikely. Who is the Heavenly Music Pavilion? He's a coward. He's been staying in the Heavenly Music Thunder Lake and not going through the tribulation. Others might not know the strength of the 8 Heavenly Kings, but how could he not know? Since he knows, he must have the confidence to win. If that's the case, then the power structure of the 6th layer of heaven will be completely messed up. It's not a good thing for the Heavenly Music Pavilion to be in charge. Isn't that so? The Heavenly Music Pavilion is greedy and lustful. In the past, there was still the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace to suppress him. Now, if he really wins, the sixth layer of heaven will belong to him alone. How can you treat us as humans? Not long after, someone saw Tian Xian and the rest arriving at the Huashan continent. Everyone was discussing this. This matter was of great importance. No one could really stay out of it. Qin Li, Wu Chang, Tian Xian, Tian, and the rest of the tribulation stage old fogies did not care about the gazes of others. They just minded their own business and settled down under a rock. I wonder if the 8 heavenly kings can defeat the heavenly music pavilion. It would be best if they can kill him. At least the ominous celestial phenomenon will be reduced. Tian Xian said. I think it's unlikely. The heavenly music pavilion is famous for being afraid of death. If he doesn't have the confidence to win, why would he send the challenge letter? I'm just afraid that the heavenly music pavilion will come looking for trouble with us after he's done with the royal heaven immortal palace. Wu Chang said, that guy is insatiably greedy. Now that there's no one to suppress him, wouldn't he still go against the heavens? Qin Li said, if the 8 heavenly kings are defeated, the 50 of us might not be his match. Right now, it's not suitable for us to undergo the tribulation. We can't leave the 6th layer of heaven. We can only be trampled on by him. No matter what, let's wait and see. If there's really no other way, we'll join forces. I don't believe that with so many people, we can't defeat him alone. Tian Xian suddenly said, I wonder how that nameless kid is doing now. Speaking of nameless, everyone couldn't help but frown. 3 years of tribulation. I really don't dare to imagine it. In short, if he goes back on his word, then we'll destroy the God and Devil Academy. Tian Xian said. Chapter 1172. On the day of the final battle, Huashan continent was packed with people. It was even more crowded than any previous prodigy competition. Tens of thousands of academies, hundreds of academies, and experts from all over the 6th heaven were all gathered here. Not long after, several divine beast mounts landed in the center of the continent with a group of people. The people from Heavenly Music Pavilion and Purple Sky Palace are here. People recognized the group of people at a glance. That guy with beauties beside him is Heavenly Music Old Man? Who else could it be? Everyone is thinking about how to pass the tribulation as soon as possible. He's the only one who doesn't want to leave because he has a treasure like the Heavenly Music Lightning Pool. Actually, if I had the Heavenly Music Lightning Pool, I wouldn't want to leave either. Although everyone wants to become an immortal, the heavenly tribulation is terrifying. Staying in the mortal world for a long time and having a lifespan that ordinary people can't hope for is not bad. Isn't that so? The heavenly tribulation is too terrifying. Since ancient times, there have been many 9-star experts. How many of them could become immortals? Most of them failed the tribulation and became itinerant immortals. He has been increasing his strength. At that time, he should be able to pass the heavenly tribulation easily. Heavenly Music Old Man wasn't in a hurry to get off his mount. Since the people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace weren't here, he continued to enjoy the wine, food, and beauties on the dragon's back. That guy looks like nothing happened. Tian Xian frowned. It seems like he's very confident about today's final battle. While the crowd was discussing, a huge, tightly locked shuttle came from the east from the other side. The people from the Imperial Heaven Immortal Palace are here. Everyone on the ground was in an uproar. The Imperial Heaven 8 heavenly kings were here. That meant that the final battle was imminent. After the shuttle landed, 8 people in golden robes jumped down from the shuttle and walked into the field. Those must be the Imperial Heaven 8 heavenly kings. They are all 9-star peak experts. It said that the combat power of the Imperial Heaven 8 heavenly kings is 100 times that of experts of the same level. Heavenly Music Old Man is fighting against 8 alone. I wonder what the result will be. Tian Xian and the rest looked at the backs of the 8 heavenly kings nervously. The final battle was about to begin. The final battle would decide the fate of many people. Father, Master, Exa murmured. Although their original bodies had already forgotten their relationship with her, they still left behind a remnant soul to take care of her. This meant that they had once cared about her. Tianyin old devil glanced over from the corner of his eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. With a flip of his body, he jumped down from the back of the Azure Dragon and walked into the battlefield. You guys are finally here? Coming so late, do you want to live a little longer? Tianyin old ghost sneered. Tai Hao looked at Tianyin old devil indifferently. Tianyin old devil, you are getting bolder and bolder. How dare you challenge the 8 of us? Don't think that you are invincible just because you have comprehended some Tao realm. Ku Ruo coldly said, I didn't expect that a coward like you would actually dare to issue a letter of challenge. It seems that you've gotten over it. Let us send you on your way. Tianyin old freak rubbed his nose. Look at all of you. How impressive. That's right, I'm afraid of death. It's better to be safe than sorry. Is that wrong? If you're not afraid of death, why didn't you go and transcend the tribulation earlier? Still cultivating in the heavenly God palace? What a joke. Tianyin old freak's eyes suddenly turned cold. I am different from you. You want to become an immortal? But I only want to be a king. Fortunately, these years, I have finally comprehended a strong enough Tao realm. Now, killing the 8 of you is as easy as killing chickens. I am not afraid to tell you that once I get rid of the 8 of you, the Imperial Heaven Celestial Palace will belong to my Tianyin Pavilion. Not only the Imperial Heaven Celestial Palace, but the entire 6th heaven will belong to me, Tianyin old freak. Dream on. Tai Hao roared angrily. His entire body erupted with shocking spiritual energy. Tianyin old freak's eyes were gloomy. Tai Hao, I used to be afraid of you. But now, you are not even fit to carry my shoes. After saying that, a violent spiritual energy rapidly exploded and swept across the entire Huashan continent. Today, I will let you know the strength of me, Tianyin old freak. Those who could come to watch the battle were all Theo the Great Human King realm. However, in the spiritual energy storm that erupted from Tianyin old freak, everyone felt that it was difficult to stabilize their bodies and retreated. This guy's spiritual energy is so fierce. Oh my God. If I didn't know that he did not undergo the tribulation, who would believe that he is still immortal? His spiritual energy has already moved the entire continent. He seems to have broken through the peak of 9-star spiritual energy. D***, what kind of treasure is the Tianyin Thunder Brilliance? It can actually avoid the tribulation and break through the upper limit of the Jiutian. However, for the other 9-star kings, they were not too surprised by the current situation. Tianyin old freak's Tianyin Thunder Brilliance can allow him to improve infinitely. I estimate that his spiritual energy has already broken through 20 million. That guy is a freak. Unless a perfected immortal comes, even an itinerant immortal may not be his match. It's too terrifying. It's not the first time you know that his attributes are high. If it's only at this level, it is impossible to defeat the 8 heavenly kings. The 8 heavenly kings are from the heavenly immortal tribe, and their 3-dimensional attributes are very high. The key is to see what kind of Tao realm Tianyin old freak has comprehended. The other 7-8 heavenly kings activated their state at the same time. Just the activation of both sides caused the world to tremble. This is probably the most terrifying battle between mortals. It's even more terrifying than the battle between the solipsistic and the dark erosion. Someone said. No one objected to this point. This was a battle that encompassed all races and the limits of mortals. Combination technique, 8 extremities universe. The 8 heavenly kings took the initiative to attack. They erupted with terrifying spiritual energy at the same time, converging it into a Buddha seal. An incomparably huge golden Buddha palm print, with a diameter of more than 1,000 meters, slammed directly at Tianyin old freak. Just the size of this palm print was at a level that no one had ever seen before. This palm carried the power to shatter heaven and earth as it blasted towards Tianyin old freak. Purple Knight Emperor couldn't help but gasp, oh my God, are the 8 heavenly kings so powerful? And they even used a combination technique. Lu Shui said, to be able to intimidate the entire 6th heaven for 100 years and even suppress my Tianyin Pavilion and your Violet Heavenly Palace, how can the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace not be powerful? These 8 heavenly kings are all from the heavenly immortal tribe. Their starting point is much higher than ordinary people. Purple Knight Emperor nodded. The royal heaven immortal palace is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, they don't know old Freak Tianin's strength. As he spoke, old Freak Tianin also moved. You have the 5-finger mountain, I have the Jingu Bang. I'm going to pierce through your sky. Old Freak Tianin roared towards the sky, and a Xianqin suddenly appeared beside him, sound from beyond the heavens, heavenly music incantation. 10 of them moved together, and an ear-piercing sound of the qin instantly exploded in the field. Countless spiritual energy turned into fine threads, shooting towards the golden Buddha palm. This is the second level of spiritual energy refinement, spiritual energy actualization. Tianquan's eyes widened. Could it be that the Tao state he comprehended is spiritual energy actualization? Green Oriole suddenly spoke. If it's really just spiritual energy actualization, then it's easy to handle. I've seen him fight in the early years. His spiritual energy refinement attainments are extremely deep. I suspect that he might have already grasped the spiritual energy actualization realm. Wu Chang's eyes widened. It can't be. The killing move released at the beginning of the battle is already so powerful. Then wouldn't the Tao state he kept as his trump card be even stronger? Chapter 1173. The continents that Lu Chen had chosen to train in were all remote continents. There were few people there, and transportation was inconvenient. Lu Chen had already gone through a few teleportation portals. After going around in circles, he finally returned to Zhongxiange. The Zhongxiange disciple was still dozing off when he suddenly saw someone coming out of the portal. He quickly woke up and took a closer look. Who are you? Lu Chen thought that this kid looked familiar. Why didn't he recognize him? Nameless. I've only been gone for 2 years, and no one recognizes me? Nameless? The Zhongxiange disciple carefully sized up Lu Chen. No way. Weren't you 185 meters? Why are you 9 meters now? Your appearance has changed a lot. Your hair is so long. Lu Chen touched his hair. Indeed, it was already long hair. However, the disciple still recognized Lu Chen. After a while, he finally recognized him. It's really Nameless Senior. You're back. I'll inform Mabe Immortal King immediately. Wait, Mabe Immortal King doesn't seem to be around. Lu Chen quickly stopped him. Alright. There's no need to inform anyone. I'm going to Huashan continent now. Can you help me operate it? Oh, Huashan continent. Mabe Senior and the others are there too. However, there are too many people teleporting today. The teleportation portal's energy is insufficient. It will take a few hours to restore it. Lu Chen frowned. He guessed that many people had gone to Huashan continent to watch the final battle. It was fine to restore it. He asked again, that little brother, do you know when the battle between Tianin Old Devil and the 8 heavenly kings is? Today. They should have already started fighting. Lu Chen panicked when he heard that. Then hurry up. Little brother, hurry up and restore the teleportation portal's energy. Nameless Senior, it's already in the process of restoring it. It's not something that can be done quickly. You have to wait for an hour? Nameless Senior, if you're in a hurry, you can use it once every half an hour. Then I'll have to trouble you. I'm in a hurry. Lu Chen said hurriedly. Nameless Senior, since we have to wait anyway, I think, why don't I bring you to wash your hair? Look at how messy your hair is now. Lu Chen thought about it. What the young man said was not completely unreasonable. No matter how anxious he was, it was useless. He might as well go wash his hair. On the last continent, he tried to use the polar ice flame blast a few times. Perhaps there was too much mixture in the seawater, which splashed onto his body and made him look a little battered. The heavenly sound curse had directly broken through the 8 heavenly kings' 8 extremities universe. The 8 heavenly kings hurriedly raised their shields to block the attack of the heavenly music curse. Actualize the spirit. Taihao narrowed his eyes and stared at Tianin Old Devil. Is this the Tao state you comprehended? Tianin Old Devil smiled and said in a frivolous tone, don't joke around. I comprehended the actualized the spirit 200 years ago. The Tianyin Thunder Lake is not only a place to avoid heavenly tribulations. It's a holy place for cultivation. 200 years ago? Ku Rua's eyes widened. Is it strange? Tianyin Old Devil said with a faint smile. Do you think it's incredible? If I knew the actualized the spirit 200 years ago, why would I be willing to live under others for 200 years? Actually, you said that I'm afraid of death. Let me tell you, that's not called being afraid of death. That's called being steady. I never do things that I'm not sure of. Actualize the spirit is strong, but to defeat the 8 of you, the chance of winning is probably less than 60%. For such a dangerous thing, I'd rather endure it for another 200 years. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. How steady was this guy? He wouldn't attack even with a 60% chance of winning. He wouldn't attack until he comprehended a new Tao state. Such an opponent made people feel that he was a little wretched, but once he really attacked, it meant one thing at the same time. His chance of winning was very high. It seemed that this time, the 8 heavenly kings couldn't rely on any luck. Although the power of the joint attack is great, it won't be easy to deal with the actualized the spirit. Let's attack separately, Tai Hao shouted. The 8 figures quickly disappeared and rushed toward Tianyin Old Devil from all directions. Facing the pincer attack of the 8 people, Tianyin Old Devil snorted. Whether you attack together or one by one, the result will be the same. Sound from beyond the sky, heavenly demons' lingering sound. Tian Mo Qin emitted a burst of harsh notes. This sound attack was extremely troublesome. If one didn't have the same actualize ability, it would be impossible to guard against it. The 8 heavenly kings could only use their spiritual energy to dodge, but they couldn't get close. Defense is bound to fail. Ku Rua shouted. The 8 heavenly kings immediately attacked. Sky-breaking sword art, sky-breaking shadow sword. Bewitching the world, blood flame venomous insect emperor. Tathagata Buddha seal, Vajra formless demon seal. The attacks of the 8 heavenly kings couldn't be underestimated. The 8 heavenly kings attacked, which were the top techniques of various professions. Facing the 8 people, Tianyin Old Devil sneered, You all used your killing moves? Good, then I'll come too. Don't you all want to know what kind of Tao state I have comprehended? Then I'll let you all open your eyes. Heavenly refining. Just as the 8 heavenly kings were about to hit Tianyin Old Devil, there was a sudden loud bang, as if the sky was broken by someone. The loud bang directly shattered the eardrums of many people. Even the 8 heavenly kings couldn't resist it. Their ears went deaf, and their bodies trembled violently. The spiritual energy of those skills was directly shattered by the huge thunder falling from the sky. The sky of the entire battlefield was filled with rolling thunder, as if the gods were roaring. Bolts of lightning emitted deafening sounds. In the sky, thunder and lightning intersected, flashing and rumbling. This is heavenly tribulation? Tian Xen was already dumbfounded. She was so scared that she couldn't speak. Qin Li and the others were also shocked to the extreme. No way, the Tao state that Tianyin Old Devil comprehended is actually heavenly tribulation. This thing can be used by humans. This is too unbelievable. If it can summon heavenly tribulation, then how can Tianyin Old Devil win? No matter how strong the 8 heavenly kings are, they wouldn't dare to say that they can survive heavenly tribulation. No wonder he's so confident this time. This Tao state is simply unheard of. I finally know. Tian Xian was enlightened. The heavenly sound thunder pond is a dharma treasure of the heavenly tribulation type. It's because of this that Tianyin Old Devil can hide in it to avoid heavenly tribulation. Tianyin Old Devil waited for 600 years and finally comprehended the heavenly sound thunder pond's origin Tao state. He comprehended heavenly tribulation. Once this was said, everyone no longer had any hope in their hearts. Not only did Tianyin Old Devil comprehend heavenly tribulation, but he could also use heavenly tribulation for his own use. What kind of concept was this? Ordinary people could only become immortals after transcending heavenly tribulation, but he directly controlled heavenly tribulation. How could such a person be defeated? Tian Xing took half a step back, trembling all over. Looking at her uncle master, and father who were being bombarded by heavenly tribulation, tears fell like rain. Although they no longer valued Tian Xing, in Tian Xinger's eyes, they were still her family. Seeing them about to die tragically, how could she not be heartbroken? Haha, 8 heavenly kings? In my eyes, you are not even comparable to ants. It's as easy as flipping my hand for me to crush you. Tianyin Old Devil was like a god descending to earth as he laughed maniacally. From now on, this world belongs to me, Tianyin Old Devil. What peerless genius! What pinnacle powerhouse! In front of me they are just dogs. I am the heavens. Is there no one who can defeat Tianyin Old Devil? Tian Xian asked weakly. The reason he asked this was obviously because he could not think of an answer. But Qin Li gave the answer directly. The strength of this heavenly tribulation is at least level 7. Since ancient times, how many people can withstand it? Moreover, this is not Tianyin Old Devil's full strength. There are 2 major factors in the ominous celestial phenomenon. One is nameless, and the other is Tianyin Old Devil. Nameless is only because he defeated Dark Erosion. Dark Erosion has not fully matured, and his actual combat strength is still weak. Therefore, in comparison, Tianyin Old Devil is the one who is not allowed to exist. It seems that within the 6th heaven, there is no one who can defeat Tianyin Old Devil. Qin Li sighed. However, at this moment, a faint light flashed on an ancient teleportation portal in the distance, and a human man walked out of the portal. Chapter 1174. Not only did Lu Chen wash his hair, but he also trimmed his long hair. Although long hair had an ancient feel, it was still inconvenient. He was not good at taking care of it. Besides, Lu Chen was in the state of celestial demon symbiosis, so he had long hair. It was better to have short hair. After washing his hair, he felt refreshed and comfortable all over. There was no one around, but Lu Chen saw dark clouds in the sky not far away. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. He was sure that was the battlefield. Well, looking at the situation, it should be a fierce battle, and the winner has not been decided yet. Lu Chen heaved a sigh of relief. Several 7 stars chasing the moon hurried to the battlefield. The 8 kings were still trying their best to resist the heavenly thunder tribulation. The heavenly tribulation was powerful because it tempered both the body and the soul. Those who experienced the heavenly tribulation had to face it in their pure physical form. At this time, auxiliary skills like Ares possession and soul-body fusion could not be used. Otherwise, the illusionary battle souls would be destroyed and the heavenly tribulation would become more violent. At the same time, the heavenly tribulation would temper the mind of the person undergoing the tribulation. If there was a trace of distraction in the mind would be shaken, and the soul would be damaged. This was also the reason why many experts would cut off all distracting thoughts before undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Qin Li raised Li Wei and Yao He, and Tai Hao and Ku Ruo left their avatars to take care of Tian Xing. It was not hard to see that they were not heartless. However, it was too difficult to cross this hurdle. The more fetters there were in the heart, the harder it was to be free of distractions. On the other hand, those who failed the heavenly tribulation had more fetters and became more like ordinary people since they had already failed. Facing the heavenly tribulation, the 8 kings could not use displacement to dodge. This was the heavenly tribulation. If they could dodge it, the heavenly sound thunder pond would not be so rare. The 8 kings knew that this was the heavenly sound Old Devil's killer move, but they did not dare to have any distracting thoughts. They could only sit cross-legged and concentrate on resisting the heavenly tribulation. Damn it, this is too much. He actually used the heavenly tribulation as a skill. Wu Chang could not help but shake his head. Tian Xian also sighed. Originally, we said that if the 8 kings were defeated, we would give it our all. However, it seems that we are not the heavenly sound Old Devil's match. With the heavenly tribulation in hand, you can really command the world. Old Ghost Tianyin sneered as he watched the 8 kings resist the heavenly tribulation. Still not giving up? Don't be naive. Don't you know that you're most afraid of being disturbed when you're transcending the tribulation? Do you really think that I will watch you resist the heavenly refinement here? After saying that, old ghost Tianin's eyes turned cold. I never thought that I would be able to comprehend the heavenly alchemy Tao realm, right? This is truly unprecedented. I, Tianin, am stronger than all the experts in the past sixth heavens. I'll send you on your way now. Die all of you. Tianin screamed at the top of her lungs, Father, Master, Martial Uncle. At this time, no one could save them. It's over. Tian Xian and the others lost all hope. Sound from beyond the heavens, demonic sound lingering beam. Old ghost Tianin raised her Xian Qin and was about to pluck the strings to complete the final kill. But at this moment, a spear glowing with red light shot over from the horizon. Like a red stream of light, it charged straight at old ghost Tianin. Old ghost Tianin also did not expect that someone would dare to attack him at this time. Fortunately, his reaction was not slow. He hurriedly retracted his attack and his figure quickly disappeared from the spot, avoiding this attack. The spear stabbed into the ground and spiritual energy exploded, causing the ground to shake. Old ghost Tianin looked at the trembling spear on the ground and narrowed his eyes. He had already thought of 4 words in his mind. Seeing the spear was like seeing the person. Seeing the silver gallbladder was like seeing solipsistic. Tianxin looked at the spear in shock. She, who was originally in despair, seemed to have seen a glimmer of hope. He still came back. Was it because of her voice transmission? In the crowd, Ma Bei, a sea of clouds, Tian, Yi Fan and the others looked at the spear and were extremely excited. They were already very familiar with the silver gallbladder. That's right, there is no one in this world who can defeat old ghost Tianin, but... Ma Bei took a deep breath, his voice trembling because of excitement. But that person, he's not human at all. A sea of clouds helped him finish what he wanted to say next. On this point, these people had already reached a consensus in their hearts. Tian nodded heavily. From the first day I met him, I had this feeling. That guy really isn't human. If old ghost Tianin wins, there's no need to even think about it. My God Demon Academy won't be able to escape. In addition, the Emperor Heaven Immortal Palace has done that guy a favor. With his personality, even if he is billions of light years away, as long as he knows about this, he will definitely come back. Yi Fan and the others looked at the trembling spear and smiled. Dean, long time no see. The disciples all miss you. Tian Xian and the others naturally recognized the spear. At this moment, these old monsters looked at each other in shock. At this time, there was still someone who dared to stand up and challenge old ghost Tianin. It's that kid. He's back. He promised us that he would pass the tribulation in 3 years. 2 years have already passed. If he doesn't even have the strength to pass the tribulation, then how would he dare to challenge old ghost Tianin? Are the 2 heaven-defying people going to fight in advance? Not long after, a black-robed man shot over like a black shadow. In the blink of an eye, he was already standing in front of Tian Xe. Lu Chen looked at the battlefield indifferently and said, Fortunately, I made it in time. Tian Xe looked at the man in front of her. At this moment, a sense of security spontaneously arose. It was as if even if the sky collapsed, as long as he was here, nothing would happen. If Tian Xen's love for Lu Chen in the past was because of admiration and worship, then at this moment, she was even more dependent on Lu Chen. Tian Xer's eyes were red. Lu Chen, why are you only here now? As she spoke, she couldn't help but cry. She had almost died from worry just now. Lu Chen turned his head. He didn't blame Tian Xen for complaining about him. Tian Xen was too weak now. This kind of complaint was just to vent the grievances in her heart. He smiled at Tian Xen. Don't worry. With me here, Senior Tai Hao and the rest will be fine. As he spoke, Lu Chen walked towards the battlefield. Seeing Lu Chen enter the battlefield, Tian Xen suddenly felt even more uncomfortable. She had lost her composure just now, but only now did she react. She was worried about her father and master, but she was also worried about Lu Chen. The 8 kings couldn't defeat old ghost Tianyin even after joining forces. Now, Lu Chen had to face him alone. Who could imagine this kind of pressure? Big brother Lu Chen. Be careful. He's very strong. Tian Xen hurriedly shouted. It was a pity that she didn't know if Lu Chen heard her. When Lu Chen stood in front of old ghost Tianyin, an ear-shattering sound exploded in the sky. These were the 2 people who had changed the weather. At this moment, they met in the Huashan continent. It was as if the heavens already knew that the battle between these 2 monsters was finally about to begin. Chapter 1175. Before Lu Chen and Tianyin Old Geezer could speak, exclamations erupted from the surroundings. Especially from the Divinity Demon Academy, they almost exploded. Wait, that's impossible. The Dean is that freakish king of savages? And he's a 9-star? Lu Chen couldn't be bothered to hide his level. Anyway, he was about to undergo the tribulation, and they would definitely know that he was a peak 9-star human king. 9-star king of savages. Damn, did the Dean embezzle the Academy's funds? That's not right. The attributes of the battle soul are the biggest obstacle in the human king realm. He must have eaten the immortal spirit pills like jelly beans. 9-star king of savages, the Dean is indeed a rogue cultivator and has reached the peak. Has he reached the peak? Sigh, I'm afraid that when he really becomes an immortal, he'll also be a rogue immortal. Tian Xian and the rest were shocked by Lu Chen's level. However, compared to the Divinity Demon Academy, who focused on the king of savages, they were more shocked by Lu Chen's leveling speed. He rose from 1-star Emperor Xiao to a 9-star king in 2 years? How is that possible? My God, what kind of cultivation speed is this? His battle soul's attributes were so high in the past? On the other hand, in Songyuan Continent's most immortal pavilion, an old man suddenly patted his head as if he had just realized something. I finally remember, it's him. Elder, who is it? It's that kid who cultivated in front of the Star Core during the genius competition. The old man's eyes widened as he stared at Lu Chen. So he's the solipsistic. He's already a peak 9-star? Why is he a king of savages? Can he defeat Tianyin Old Geezer? Whether the solipsistic could defeat Tianyin Old Geezer had become the same question in everyone's mind. Although the solipsistic was a freak, Tianyin Old Geezer was too strong. Tianyin Old Geezer sized up Lu Chen and smiled contemptuously. You're the solipsistic? I heard that half of the ominous astronomical phenomenon is your contribution. In other words, in the eyes of the Jiutian, you are qualified to be my equal? You actually dare to interfere in the matters of me, Old Ghost Tianyin? Old Ghost Tianyin did not mind the way he was addressed. Lu Chen looked back at the 8 kings. They were still trying their best to resist the heavenly tribulation. You hid in the heavenly sound thunder lock for hundreds of years, and this is what you came up with? Tianyin Old Ghost's face suddenly darkened. Solipsistic, rumor has it that you are extremely arrogant. Seeing you today, it is indeed so. Lu Chen was too lazy to explain. When had he ever been arrogant? There were always people saying that he was arrogant. What a headache. Today, I will fight against the 8 heavenly kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. If you make a move now, you will be nameless. Old Ghost Tianyin sneered. Lu Chen snorted. So you're afraid of me? Since that's the case, when you see me in the future, kneel in front of me and call me grandfather respectfully. Old Ghost Tianyin's eyes widened in anger. You're twisting words and forcing logic. I'm obviously not talking about this matter. I'm afraid of you? What do you have that I'm afraid of? Wait till I kill the 8 heavenly kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. I'll tear your mouth apart first before tearing you into pieces. Lu Chen smiled. Still saying that you're not afraid of me? Then why must you wait till you kill the 8 kings before dealing with me? Teaching without a proper name? Lu Chen thought about it. Logically speaking, it was indeed inappropriate for him to interfere in someone else's duel. Such a difficult question, he would leave it to someone else to answer. Right at this moment, Tian Xen stood up. Previously, the Immortal Palace was managed by my father. But now, my father's remnant soul has returned to his body. I'm the current palace master of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. I've already conferred Solipsistic as the current 8 heavenly kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace. Old Ghost Tianyin was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Conferring a king at the last minute, wasn't this obviously twisting words and forcing logic? Discussions broke out all around. Oh, so that's the case. Then there's no problem now. So that's the case. Now, the battle between Solipsistic and Old Ghost Tianyin is justified. Old Ghost Tianyin, why aren't you withdrawing the heavenly tribulation? Now that you're attacking someone from the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, that's not abiding by the rules of the duel. Lu Chen looked at Old Ghost Tianyin, whose face was alternating between green and white. Looks like you don't like to make friends usually. Is there no one to speak up for you at a time like this? Sorry, I washed my hair just now and came late. Otherwise, you should have directly challenged me to a duel. Everyone says that Old Ghost Tianyin is afraid of death. Indeed, that's the case. You even used the excuse of nameless to increase your chances of winning. You really won't let go of any chance. Unfortunately, a just cause enjoys abundant support. So what if I'm twisting the truth? You're talking about morality with me? Someone like you isn't worthy. Old Ghost Tianyin stared at Lu Chen. You don't want to follow the rules, right? All right, since you're in a hurry to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. Along with your divinity demon's sacred courtyard, I, will slaughter them all today. Cut the crap. Today you must die. Lu Chen withdrew his smile and his eyes were filled with killing intent. With a stretch of his right hand, the silver gallbladder in the distance shook violently. Then, it broke free from the ground and quickly returned to Lu Chen's hand. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that the 2 great 6th firmament monsters were the strongest among mortals. The duel between them was on the verge of breaking out. The 8 heavenly kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace were still enduring the heavenly tribulation. No one knew how long they could last. But in such an urgent situation and facing a powerful level 7 heavenly tribulation, no one would be able to survive. To save these people, Lu Chen didn't have enough time. This time, it was rare that Lu Chen was the first to make a move. Spear Dao Empyrean Spear. With that, Lu Chen's figure was like lightning, rushing towards Old Ghost Tianyin. Sound from beyond the heavens, Immortal Demon Curse. Old Ghost Tianyin held the guqin with one hand and plucked the strings with the other. Hundreds of violent spiritual energy shot towards Lu Chen. The 2 powerful moves collided instantly. One had to know that both of them had mastered the art of spiritual manipulation. Their spiritual energy was even sharper. When they collided, it was like weapons meeting, and a series of earth-shattering explosions were heard. Boom 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 boom. Oh my God! Fortunately, the president also knows the art of spiritual manipulation. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to see the immortal demon curse clearly, let alone resist it. Xiao Zhan said nervously. Old Ghost Tianyin's sound attack was invisible, and Lu Chen's celestial demon heavenly eyes perfectly countered it. After a series of explosions, Lu Chen's attack was still the same as before. He stabbed his spear towards Old Ghost Tianyin. Spiritual world, heavenly sound spiritual shield. Old Ghost Tianyin's fingers plucked the strings quickly and formed a spiritual shield in front of him. Lu Chen's spear hit the spiritual shield, and another loud explosion occurred. The aftershock swept across half of the Huashan continent. What a powerful collision of spiritual energy. Is this the strength of a peak 9-star king? He's too powerful. On the battlefield, both sides were pushed back at the same time. In the next second, Lu Chen stabbed his spear again and shouted angrily, "Old Ghosting, is this all you've got? After being a bastard for hundreds of years, this is all you've got. You've disappointed me. Arrogant brat." Old Ghost Tianyin was also angry. Spiritual world, 9 sounds piercing the heavens. 9 sounds attacked. The spiritual energy was like 9 sharp swords, stabbing towards Lu Chen. Sky piercing the heavens. Lu Chen didn't retreat. Instead, he advanced. However, 9 sounds piercing the heavens wasn't as simple as it looked. The spiritual energy suddenly gathered into one and collided with the sky, piercing the heavens. Rumble. Everyone felt the ground shake as if there was an earthquake. These two are so powerful, Tian Xian said in horror. Chapter 1176. Lu Chen had just used sky-piercing spear when old freak Tianyin used his Xian zither and launched several sonic attacks. Ethereal universe, the strongest sound. The sound of the zither exploded, and thousands of spiritual forces shot toward Lu Chen. They actually countered Lu Chen's sky-piercing spear. The battle between the two had reached a dizzying level. Not only that, but every time their skills clashed, the spiritual forces that burst forth caused the Huashan continent to crumble. Although the two of them haven't gone through the tribulation, their strength is really too strong, far surpassing the average tribulation stage old freak. This is a battle between the strongest mortals. Lu Chen's attacks were fiercer and fiercer. One of old freak Tianin's trump cards, spiritual actualization, had no advantage over Lu Chen. Tiger descends the mountain. Sacred lotus sword heart. Sound from beyond the heavens, high mountains and flowing waters. Thousands of spiritual forces clashed, causing the ground of the battlefield, which was already riddled with holes, to completely collapse. This time, the battle between the two of them rose and fell, neither giving way to the other. The spectators were already dumbfounded. He can actually fight old freak Tianyin to a draw. This solipsistic is too strong. Old freak Tianyin has been a 9-star human king for more than 600 years. His speed, strength, and spiritual force have all reached an unimaginable level. Forget about old freak Tianyin. I really don't know how this solipsistic cultivated to such a level. The two of them seem to have broken through the upper limit. The two of them probably haven't given it their all. Old freak Tianyin hasn't used his heavenly refining, and solipsistic's earth fire burns the heavens is also useless. The battle later might be even more terrifying. On the other side, the Imperial Sky 8 heavenly kings finally wouldn't be attacked by old freak Tianyin for the time being. However, they didn't dare to be distracted by the level 7 heavenly tribulation. Tian Xen was very clear why Lu Chen had been taking the initiative to attack. It was because he couldn't give old freak Tianyin a chance to attack her father and the rest. Big brother Lu Chen. Thank you. But you must be careful. Tian Xen looked at the stage nervously. In the blink of an eye, Lu Chen and Tianyin Old Ghost had already fought over 100 rounds. Both sides used all kinds of skills, and their powerful moves clashed several times. The battlefield had already been transformed beyond recognition. After fighting fiercely for nearly half an hour, old devil Tianyin suddenly forced Lu Chen to retreat with a heavenly devil's lingering sound. At the same time, he leaped backward. This time, Lu Chen was not in a hurry to chase after Tianyin. After avoiding the heavenly demon's lingering sound, he quickly recovered his spirit chi. In such a high-intensity battle, the consumption of spiritual power was secondary. Both sides could recover their spiritual power during the battle, but the consumption of spiritual power was too great, so both of them needed to take a breather. Of course, for experts like them, it was only a few seconds of rest. Solipsistic, not bad. Tianyin Old Ghost stared at Lu Chen. I admit that I underestimated your strength. Very well, I'm going to get serious now. Lu Chen's eyes were cold. Old freak Tianyin was definitely the person whose strength was closest to his own that he had met. One had to know that the current him was already a peak 9-star human sovereign. Imperial heavenly tyrant body. Lingering sound. Powerful sound domain. Soul body as one. Suddenly, old freak Tianyin's body erupted with terrifying spirit chi. Old freak Tianyin's figure became imposing and majestic. His long hair fluttered, and the phantom of a divine statue flashed out behind him. At the same time, the zither in his hand was covered with a layer of silver skin. At the same time, several strands of spirit chi circled around old freak Tianyin's body like tentacles. If not for Lu Chen's spirit observation technique being perfected, these invisible tentacles would definitely be one of old freak Tianyin's killer moves. With one look at these tentacles, Lu Chen already knew that this was a technique that could be used both offensively and defensively. It should be similar to Dark Erosion's 9 souls. Lu Chen snorted. This old thing actually did not use heavenly refinement. It seemed that heavenly refinement was very likely his strongest trump card. Under the circumstances where he was uncertain of Lu Chen's strength, he was still unwilling to use it. However, old Freak Tianin's current state was definitely not easy to deal with. Lu Chen also did not dare to be careless and activated many statuses. God of War Possession, Devil Transformation, Dragon Blood Boil, Soul and Body as One. Lu Chen did not activate Dual Heaven's Might. Before old Freak Tianin used Heavenly Refinement, Lu Chen was also not sure if he could finish the battle within half an hour. Once he fell into a weakened state, there would be no chance of winning. Dragon God Form, Emptiness of Gods and Demons Arm. Lu Chen's entire body was covered in golden dragon scales. His left arm rapidly demonized, becoming about the same size as himself. In terms of trump cards, Lu Chen was not afraid of old Freak Tianin. At the same time, Lu Chen looked at Silver Bile and said softly, "Silver Bile, this time you rest first." After saying that, he put away Silver Bile. From the void, Lu Chen pulled out a black and white dual-colored sword. Limitless Divine Demon Sword. Lu Chen had not used it even when he was fighting Jiao Air. The Limitless Divine Demon Sword that had been shelved by Lu Chen could finally be used. The moment it appeared, as if it had been suppressed for a long time, the Limitless Divine Demon Sword erupted with a terrifying pressure. Everyone's weapons started to tremble. This was the sign of a king's descent. Even old Freak Tianin's Xian Qin let out a low hum. Old Freak Tianin narrowed his eyes slightly. His Xian Qin was also a divine artifact. In the end, in front of the Limitless Divine Demon Sword, its quality was still suppressed by half. Limitless Divine Demon Sword. Old Freak Tianin stared at the sword in Lu Chen's hand. "Kid, you don't deserve to have such a powerful weapon." Lu Chen sneered, "Don't say the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. I will use the Limitless Divine Demon Sword to cut your Xian Qin." Arrogant. 1,000-mile sound, hard to break when far away. This time, the opponent's attack only had a very weak spiritual energy fluctuation. It was not a sound attack. However, when the music came, Lu Chen's heart suddenly thumped. At this moment, Lu Chen recalled too many past events and too many old friends. His parents who left him when he was young, his old friends who parted ways, Mu Xian, Jiao, Lu. At this moment, the longing for them in his heart was stimulated by the music. Just as Lu Chen was slightly stunned, old Freak Tianin made his move. 1,000-mile sound, formless phase. After saying that, old Freak Tianin's figure disappeared from his original spot. In the next second, he had already appeared in front of Lu Chen. "I knew it long ago. You have too many distracting thoughts. This move, hard to break when far away, is ineffective on others, but the effect is amazing on you. Let those people you care about send you to hell." Sound from beyond the heavens, demonic sound sparrow screen. "Look carefully, I don't only know how to attack from afar." Old Freak Tianin roared. Not good. Old Freak Tianin used 1,000-mile sound to disturb Nameless consciousness and then shifted to Nameless side to launch a strong attack. Old Freak Tianin's speed is too fast. Solipsistic seems to have been hit. The killing move was about to arrive. Lu Chen, who was originally in a daze, suddenly changed his expression. Suddenly he heard Lu Chen's low and calm voice. "Sorry, my friends and family will definitely not become your accomplices in killing me. I am fighting for myself and also for them. Close to me? I think you don't know how the word death is written." Universal annihilation, sky shaking. Lu Chen shouted and stomped on the ground fiercely. The ground under his feet directly collapsed. Old Freak Tianin was affected by the tremors. Just as he stabilized his body, he realized that Lu Chen was no longer in front of him. Instant 3,000 slashes. Chapter 1177. After activating their status, the battle between the two became even more terrifying. Every time their skills collided, space would tremble. Just as the two sides were fighting, Tai Hao suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Following that, Ku Ruo and Ku Wu spat out blood one after another. They had endured the heavenly tribulation for too long. If they were unable to resist the heavenly tribulation, they might directly die. Fortunately, Tai Hao was quick-witted and said, "Quickly eat the tribulation transcendence pill." Since the heavenly refining was known as the heavenly tribulation, then the tribulation transcendence pill that could save one's life in the heavenly tribulation would definitely be able to save one's life. Lu Chen also noticed the situation here. He forced old ghost Tianyin back with a single move. "So the reason why you didn't make a move was for this moment." Old ghost Tianyin coldly snorted, "7th level heavenly tribulation, I'm afraid that only one or two of them will be able to pass it. As for the tribulation transcendence pill, haha, the tribulation transcendence pill can protect one's life during tribulation, but my heavenly refining is not that easy to talk to. I want you to watch the person you want to save die in front of you." Lu Chen frowned. Tai Hao and the rest were already powerless to resist the heavenly tribulation. If the tribulation transcendence pill could not protect their lives, then they would definitely die. He looked at the dark clouds above their heads. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, thunder and lightning crisscrossed. Lu Chen coldly snorted, "You can't kill the person I want to save." With that, Lu Chen suddenly turned back and rushed into the air. Big brother Lu Chen. When Tian Xaner saw this scene, her heart almost jumped out. Lu Chen's departure was equivalent to sending himself into the range of the heavenly refining. He would also face the 7th level of heavenly tribulation. Not only that, his goal was obvious. It was to save Tai Hao and the rest. In other words, he would have to endure the heavenly tribulation of Tai Hao and the rest at the same time. How terrifying was it for a single person to eat 9 heavenly tribulations of the 7th level by himself? However, Lu Chen did not care about this at all. With a void 9 steps, he directly pounced into the heavenly refining area. Just as Lu Chen stepped into the heavenly refining area, a loud sound came from the sky as a bolt of lightning smashed onto Lu Chen's body. This is bad. Solipsistic soul body fusion and battle god possession are still in effect. That bolt of lightning was extremely powerful. Lu Chen was in a hurry to save his friend and forgot that he was still in the soul body as one state. As a result, the power of this heavenly thunder was abnormally terrifying. Even someone as strong as Lu Chen was struck squarely by this bolt of heavenly lightning. He immediately knelt on one knee and spat out a mouthful of blood, almost unable to stand up. The heavenly tribulation was a dual tempering of both the physical body and the divine sense. How could someone like him, who had rushed in to save people, focus on the heavenly tribulation? What's more, this was a strengthened version of the heavenly thunder. When this bolt of heavenly lightning struck, Lu Chen's entire head buzzed, and he nearly lost consciousness. However, Lu Chen still forced himself to get up. He hurriedly withdrew from the soul-body unification and many other strengthening states and remained in his original form. The Triple Gate cultivators were all listening attentively, and all 8 kings were sent out of the range of the heavenly tribulation. And when he tried to escape from the heavenly refining region, the clouds in the skies suddenly became thicker than before. The sound of thunder was deafening. The heavenly refining region was directly sealed off by a dense curtain of lightning. Ah, solipsistic soul body, you are really courting death. You actually dare to barge into my Tao realm domain? Haha, I even said that I might need to spend more effort to kill you. Who knew that you would be so stupid? Old ghost Tianyin laughed wildly. After Tai Hao and the rest were sent out by Lu Chen, they finally heaved a sigh of relief. They hurriedly looked towards the heavenly refining region. Solipsistic soul body. Tai Hao frowned. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be concerned about Lu Chen right now. After all, he was already someone who was preparing to transcend the tribulation. If he had too many distracting thoughts, the chances of him successfully transcending the tribulation would be smaller. However, at this moment, he was no longer able to remain calm. That guy, in order to save him, had barged into the heavenly refining region. Suddenly, a sigh came from behind Tai Hao. Ku Ruo let out a long sigh. Immortal ascension? We are still not qualified enough. We can't even pass this 7th level of heavenly tribulation. Forget it, I have also seen through it. Our limit is just that of a loose immortal. After saying that, Ku Ruo looked at Tian Xingther with heartache. For all these years, I have wronged you. Tian Xingther looked at her master in shock. This was the master who had doted on her the most since she was young. Tian Xingther's eyes were filled with tears. Master, Ku Ruo sighed, old ghost Tianin has already made us understand a principle. Among the 8 of us, there might not be a single true immortal. Since that's the case, then let's just be a loose immortal. Since you are a loose immortal, then there is no need to care about distracting thoughts. It's just that I don't know if that brat's solipsistic soul body can make it through. Ku Ruo looked towards the heavenly refining region. He alone has to withstand 9 7th level heavenly tribulation. In the heavenly refining region, old ghost Tianin laughed wildly. Haha, solipsistic soul body, you are too stupid. You saved others, but no one can save you anymore. Previously, you were already injured by the heavenly refining. Let's see how I'll play you to death. Boom boom boom. 9 bolts of heavenly lightning struck towards Lu Chen at the same time. Lu Chen's eyes were about to split open as he said in a deep voice, if I can't even withstand a mere 7th level heavenly tribulation, would I still be in the mood to play with you? 9 continuous bolts of heavenly lightning struck Lu Chen's body at the same time, making it impossible to dodge. This time, the heavenly lightning did not pass by in a flash. Instead, it was more like 9 lightning chains that descended from the sky, continuously bombarding Lu Chen. Haha, it doesn't feel good, right? This is the heavenly tribulation. Don't underestimate the heavenly tribulation. Old ghost Tianin was in a good mood. Lu Chen had barged into the heavenly refining region by himself, so how much less trouble did he have? Not to mention that he had to face 9 bolts of heavenly lightning by himself. After being continuously attacked by 9 bolts of heavenly lightning, Lu Chen knelt on one knee with a sinister expression. Was this the heavenly tribulation? His brain could barely function. His body felt as if it was being pressed down by 10,000 tons of weight. Every inch of his skin, flesh, bones, and organs were being crazily baptized by the lightning. The only way to deal with the heavenly tribulation was to use spirit pills to produce a huge amount of spiritual energy. There was no need to pause for even a moment. Only in this way could he resist the continuous heavenly tribulation. Lu Chen had already thoroughly felt the power of the 7th level of heavenly tribulation. If it wasn't for his eagerness to save people at the beginning and making a low-level mistake, these 9 7th level heavenly tribulation, it didn't seem to be very strong. Although there couldn't be any distracting thoughts in the heavenly tribulation, Lu Chen had a special ability. He could split his spiritual energy into 2. In the immortal Emperor Sumeru realm, every time he stepped on a step, he would need to simulate 2 types of spiritual energy circulation in his body. This was something that even old ghost Tianin, who had also mastered the art of spiritual energy circulation, had never practiced before. In other words, Lu Chen could do 2 things at once. On one hand, he was dealing with the heavenly tribulation, and on the other, he was dealing with old ghost Tianin. Lu Chen hurriedly controlled his spiritual energy to circulate and split his spiritual energy to resist the heavenly tribulation. After adapting to the strength of the heavenly tribulation, Lu Chen gritted his teeth and stood up against the 9 rolling bolts of heavenly lightning. The current Lu Chen was simply like a god bathed in thunder and lightning. Old ghost Tianin widened his eyes and looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. How is this possible? Lu Chen sneered and looked coldly at old ghost Tianin. Old ghost, you fucking think I'm afraid of your fake heavenly tribulation? If you're only at this level, then I'm sorry, you're already a dead man. Chapter 1178. Withstanding 9 level 7 heavenly tribulations and still talking cheerfully? Everyone was dumbfounded by this scene. Oh my God, is the dean still human? Without a doubt he is not. Yi Fan answered his junior brother's question expressionlessly. Mabe shook his head and sighed. If Nameless was just an ordinary person, he could have already passed the tribulation and become an immortal. Unfortunately, the heavenly tribulation that awaits him will definitely not be a mere level 7 heavenly tribulation. I believe that Nameless knows this better than anyone else. A sea of clouds said, the Dean's journey is already much more difficult than others. At this moment, Tianyin Old Devil looked at Lu Chen, who was like a thunder god descending to earth, with round eyes and a fierce look. All right, I admit that your strength is beyond my expectations, but so what? Do you think that's all I have? If I, Tianyin Old Devil, didn't have absolute confidence in winning, I wouldn't have come out of seclusion. So, since you dare to be arrogant in front of me, I'll show you my true ability. After saying that, a jade plate appeared beside Tianyin Old Devil. This jade plate was dark green all over, like a piece of high-quality jade. There were dense array talismans on the plate, and the more conspicuous words were, Heavenly Sound Thunder Luster. Solipsistic, I'll let you be arrogant. Since level 7 heavenly tribulation can't deal with you, then level 9, I'll definitely smash you to pieces in the heavenly tribulation. The Heavenly Sound Thunder Luster jade plate emitted a strong green light that shot into the sky. Almost at the same time, the entire Huashan continent was covered in dark clouds, as if it had sunk into darkness. With a loud boom, the sky was torn apart by a terrifying lightning bolt, and the world was instantly illuminated by white light. The thickness of this lightning bolt made the previous level 7 heavenly tribulation lightning look like a thin thread. Everyone looked at the lightning above their heads in horror. Their eyes were filled with fear. Oh my God, is it really? Level 9 heavenly tribulation. Who knows? Since ancient times, those who have truly experienced level 9 heavenly tribulation can be counted on one hand. I'm afraid this is the strongest heavenly tribulation in the history of the 6th heaven. Old Freak Tianyin was really too terrifying. He could actually summon a level 9 heavenly tribulation. Even a true immortal wouldn't dare to say that he would be able to withstand a level 9 heavenly tribulation. Amidst the thunderclaps, the Tianyin Old Ghost laughed wildly. Haha, solipsistic, aren't you arrogant? I want to see if you can still be so arrogant in front of the 9th level heavenly tribulation. The ultimate heavenly refinement. With a loud boom, everyone felt as if their eardrums were about to be shattered by this heaven-shaking thunder. That thick bolt of lightning directly blasted Lu Chen's body. At this moment, Lu Chen felt as if his body and brain were about to be disintegrated by this huge bolt of lightning. The immense force caused Lu Chen to kneel on the ground. His face contorted in pain. Haha, solipsistic, no matter how arrogant you are, you still have to obediently kneel before this old man. I, the Tianyin Old Ghost, am the #1 expert in this world. I, the Tianyin Old Ghost, have the ability to dictate the fate of mortals. As long as you die, whether it's the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace or the God-Fiend Sacred Academy, I will definitely kill them all. Your family, friends, I will kill them all. Just nice. It can also be considered as killing the chicken to warn the monkey. At that time, I want to see if a just cause attracts much support or if an unjust cause finds little support or if the strong are respected and the martial arts rule the world. Under the level 9 heavenly tribulation, it was already the strongest heavenly tribulation in the history of the 6th heaven. It was also the most powerful heavenly tribulation. This kind of heavenly tribulation originated from the purest elemental energy in the universe. It could ignore all elemental resistance. Therefore, resistance and defense had no effect in the heavenly tribulation. Lu Chen gritted his teeth and resisted the continuous heavenly tribulation. This was the level 9 heavenly tribulation? It was indeed very strong. It was so strong that it was difficult for him to withstand it. He should have known that his heavenly tribulation, the real heavenly tribulation, would definitely not be lower than the level 9 heavenly tribulation. Since the 2nd heaven, he had been in existence that was not allowed by the Jutian. He had obtained a lot, but which opportunity had he not risked his life for? People only saw his heaven-defying combat strength, but no one saw how he had progressed step by step. Scenes from the heavenly tribulations suddenly flashed through Lu Chen's mind like a slideshow. Spiritual martial apothecary. Solipsistic, I was just unwilling to be manipulated by fate. That's why I killed my master and massacred the divine herbalist Valley. I bear the crime because I don't want to be a pawn of others anymore. King of monsters. Solipsistic, if you have the chance to stand at the top of the Jutian, help me ask those high and mighty people whether they have the guts or not. Mu Xian. Lu Chen, a person's most precious right is the right to choose. Stick to your original choice and don't forget your original intention. Louis, boss, wait for me to come back. I will definitely become an immortal apothecary. I will always be by your side. Louis, brother, whether I get married or not, I will always be your sister. I will always protect you. Jutian lightning struck, lighting up the entire Huashan continent. Even people from other continents could see this ridiculous lightning. It was like a celestial phenomenon. Lu Chen's head was held down by an unimaginably powerful force amidst the lightning. In the Jiotian lightning, he knelt down with his head bowed, like a prisoner awaiting trial. Solipsistic, are you still not going to accept your fate? This is a level 9 heavenly tribulation. Even the strongest races, immortals, demonic tribe, celestial tribe, and titan, can't withstand it. You and I are both humans. I know what the limits of humans are. You have reached your limit, but you can't win against the heavens. Because of this, I would rather stay in the 6th heaven. Solipsistic, I don't care how many miracles you have created in the past, but this time, you can only wait for death. You can't save the Royal Immortal Palace, you can't save the Celestial Academy, and you can't save your friends and family. This is your end. Tian Xen was already in tears. The man who refused to admit defeat was now kneeling in front of the Tianyin old man, unable to move. He was still holding on, but it was meaningless. This was a level 9 heavenly tribulation. A normal person would be destroyed in a level 9 heavenly tribulation. The Tianyin old man could summon a level 9 heavenly tribulation. Who in this world could be his match? Big brother Lu Chen, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have called you here. Tian Xen cried. In the battlefield, the Tianyin old man laughed coldly. You still refuse to admit defeat? Fine, I will send you on your way. Under such circumstances, the Tianyin old man still wanted to attack Lu Chen. At this time, anyone who knew Lu Chen, besides heartache, there was only heartache. They all knew that they couldn't enter the heavenly refining area. Even if they went to their deaths, they wouldn't be able to save Lu Chen. However, even so, there were still people who couldn't hold it in. The Yi Fan, Xiao Zhan, Chu Tian and the rest gritted their teeth. Seeing that they were about to rush out, Yi Tian and the rest hurriedly stopped them. Lu Chen. Li Wei's figure had just moved when she was pressed down by someone. Qing Li's eyes were slightly moved. This was already the biggest emotional fluctuation that had appeared on Qing Li's face in the past 2 years. Even if you die, you won't be able to save him. At this moment, the Tianyin old man had already made his move. Go to hell, solipsistic. Sound from beyond the heavens, world-extinguishing sound curse. An incomparably ferocious spiritual energy shot towards the kneeling Lu Chen like a sharp sword. Chapter 1179. At this time, no one could save Lu Chen. But, boss, let Xiaomin help you block another attack. A voice sounded in Lu Chen's mind. I believe you will definitely defeat the 9th level tribulation because you are my boss. The moment the world annihilation curse shot over, a transparent spirit body suddenly flashed out of Lu Chen's body. Tell Sister Lu, little beast, little furball, little originator, and the medicine boy not to be sad. Protect Master, this is Xiaomin's mission. The spirit body said softly. Farewell, Xiaomin's favorite boss. In the face of such a terrifying attack, that little figure blocked in front of Lu Chen and didn't budge an inch. Spirit body self-destruct. Xiaomin's slightly immature voice sounded, but she used all her strength to block in front of Lu Chen. Her body shone brightly and erupted with terrifying spiritual power. No spiritual body was allowed to exist in the heavenly tribulation. The moment she appeared, she was destined to be destroyed in body and soul. Not to mention there was still the world annihilation curse, and the spirit-body self-destruct. Lu Chen's body trembled, but he couldn't move. With a boom, Xiaomin's spirit body turned into light spots and slowly flew away. Outside the first heaven spirit world, a girl waited alone. Her parents were dead, and she had become a lonely ghost. She was waiting for someone to avenge her. A young man completed the spirit puppet mission and subdued the first purple ghost pet in the entire server. Her name was Xiaomin. Lu Chen couldn't remember how many times she blocked a fatal attack for her master. For more than 10 years, Xiaomin had been following Lu Chen from the first heaven to the sixth heaven. Whether it was leveling up, fighting monsters, or camping, she never left Lu Chen for a moment. She liked Louie, who came later, and called her sister. She liked to play with Little Furball, Little Origin, and Little Beastie. She liked to bicker with the medicine boy. She had seen Lu Chen slowly become a god fiend from a monster. She had also experienced life and death battles and dire straits with Lu Chen. She was Lu Chen's first partner. She watched as Lu Chen grew up step by step. When Lu Chen reached the fifth layer of heaven, Little Green's role in fighting with his original body had become negligible. However, Xiaomin did not forget her duty. Protect the master. I have accompanied you for 10 years. It is my fortune to have my soul destroyed. I have no regrets in this life. At this moment, the entire audience was shocked by this scene. In the chaotic heavenly refining ground, other than the sound of rolling thunder, there was no other sound. Yes, Solipsistic's ghost pet? Why did that ghost pet come out by itself? She self-destructed in order to protect Solipsistic. When she appeared in the heavenly tribulation, her soul was destined to be destroyed. Self-destruction was also her last resort to protect her master with her life. Old Ghost Tianin's attack was actually diverted by the self-destruction of a ghost pet. He was also stunned for a moment. Solipsistic, I didn't expect you to have such a move. That ghost pet actually chose to self-destruct in order to protect its master? How interesting. It's a pity that even if she self-destructs, she won't be able to change anything. She's just a ghost pet without any fighting strength, and the spirit energy fluctuations produced by the self-destruction of her spirit body are negligible. If I hadn't been careless, you would have already died from that attack. If Lu Chen was in the state of soul and body as one, the power of Xiaomin's spirit body self-destruction might be a little stronger. However, Lu Chen was currently in his original state, and even if Xiaomin exhausted the self-destruction of the original god, he could only slightly divert Old Ghost Tianin's attack. This is the fate of the weak. Even if you die, you won't be able to change anything. Old Ghost Tianin said contemptuously. The weak will always be the weak. There's no meaning in their existence. Lu Chen's head was constantly pressed down by the terrifying power of the heavenly tribulation, and he was unable to lift it up. No one could clearly see Lu Chen's expression. However, Old Ghostin suddenly realized that the person kneeling in front of him with his head lowered all this while had thick green smoke pouring out from both sides of his temples. Many people knew that when Lu Chen was angry, his eyes would emit green fog. However, the green fog had never dissipated as violently as this time. Suddenly, the man who was kneeling on the ground propped himself up with one hand and stood up with one leg. The heavenly tribulation seemed to sense this intense resistance and became even more intense. In the clouds, lightning flashed and thunder roared everywhere. All of them converged into this thick lightning bolt, causing the level 9 heavenly tribulation to become even thicker. However, all of this was unable to stop the man from standing up again. His entire body was trembling, but he was unusually determined. This is the level 9 heavenly tribulation. A low and hoarse voice sounded as if it came from hell. Old Dog Tonin, is this all you've got? Lu Chen's other leg also stood up. Old Ghost Tianin looked at the person in front of him in horror. This fellow could actually stand up in the level 9 heavenly tribulation. As the user of the heavenly tribulation, Old Ghost Tianin could not help but take half a step back. No, impossible. This is the level 9 heavenly tribulation. It's impossible for you to defeat the level 9 heavenly tribulation. Amidst the lightning, Lu Chen stood up straight and slowly raised his head. At this moment, people finally saw Lu Chen's appearance. 2 lines of tears hung on his cheeks. His eyes were blood red, and green fog was rolling around his eyes. His black robe with golden patterns fluttered in the lightning, and that striking head of white hair moved without any wind. Rather than saying that the current Lu Chen was resisting the heavenly tribulation, it was better to say that he was a god born in the lightning. Old Ghost Tian, even if the heavenly king comes today, he won't be able to save you. Every word was spoken clearly. No matter who heard it, they could not help but tremble in fear. No way, Solipsistic actually withstood the level 9 heavenly tribulation. What kind of heaven-defying monster is this? The strength of his physical body definitely far exceeds the limit of the human race. No, not only the limit of the human race, but also the limit of all races. Forget about the strength of his physical body. What I find strange is that his killing intent is so strong now. How did he manage to resist the tempering of his mind? Willpower. Wu Chang suddenly said, "It's an incomparably firm willpower. We hope to resist the heavenly tribulation through a state of mind that has no desires, and no worries." However, he has taken a completely different path. His worries are the motivation for him to become stronger. The self-destruction of that ghost pet completely stimulated his potential, and also made his willpower even firmer, thus allowing him to resist the level 9 heavenly tribulation. On the battlefield, old Ghost Tianin looked at the solipsistic in front of him, who was like a thunder god descending to the world, in shock. In this situation, it was clearly the other party who was enduring the enormous pressure of the heavenly tribulation, but now, it made him feel flustered. However, old Ghost Tianin was, after all, experienced on the battlefield. He quickly calmed down and pretended to be relaxed as he said, "Solipsistic, I know you're just barely doing it. Even if you can withstand the level 9 heavenly tribulation, I don't believe that you still have the ability to fight me. I can still easily kill you now. I want to see how many more ghost pets or battle pets you have that can die for you." Lu Chen was expressionless. He did not hear old Ghost Tianin's words at all. He only muttered to himself, "Xiao Min, boss wants old Ghost Tianin to die with you." After saying that, he grabbed the limitless sword and took a deep breath. In the heavenly tribulation region, there was a sudden change in the weather. Other than the lightning that had been striking Lu Chen's body, half of the world's temperature suddenly rose, and there was a faint red flame. The other half of the world's temperature suddenly dropped, and there was frost condensing in the air. Chapter 1180. The ones who killed Xiaomin were Tianin Old Devil and Tianin Lice. Lu Chen raised his head and looked at the rolling lightning in the sky. "Heavenly tribulation, right? Since you killed my Xiaomin, you will die." Lu Chen shouted angrily, "Celestial demon's might. Celestial demon lotus heart, inner demon. Celestial demon body." The group of people entered a weakened state. However, they didn't have the time to care about their own attributes. Because the man on the field was crazy. What is he doing? Inner demon in the heavenly tribulation? Isn't he courting death? He said the heavenly tribulation will die? I don't understand. Is this guy crazy? Is he going to attack the heavenly tribulation? Attacking the heavenly tribulation was unheard of. Not to mention heard. They didn't even dare to think about it. Lu Chen's eyes were about to split open. The celestial demon limitless sword in his hand seemed to feel its owner's anger and shone brightly. Celestial technique, ice flame explosion sword. This sword actually slashed directly towards the horizon. Not only that, Lu Chen was in a celestial state and rushed toward the clouds with the celestial demon limitless sword. The violent spiritual energy rolled, causing the entire Huashan continent to shake violently as if a planet was collapsing. Even the air was rumbling from this sword. My God, he really attacked the heavenly tribulation. I didn't even dare to dream about it. This is a celestial technique? Such a powerful celestial technique, the power of ice and fire is too terrifying. The scattered lightning in the surroundings kept superimposing on the thickest one. Thousands of lightning surged, preventing Lu Chen from continuing upward. However, Lu Chen was furious and couldn't be stopped. "Give me back Xiaomin!" Lu Chen roared, withstanding the heavenly tribulation and lightning. His entire body disappeared into the clouds, and it was hard to see his figure. Just as everyone didn't know how the battle was going, suddenly, there was a loud sound in the sky. Immediately after that, the clouds that covered the sky were sealed in ice. Then, it exploded from the inside of the ice. Boom, 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 boom. Countless explosions rang out in the sky. It was as if the sky had been bombed. The entire horizon was drowned in flames, spreading out for thousands of miles. At this moment, the heavenly sound thunder pond jade plate, which was hanging beside the Tianyin old devil, suddenly cracked from the middle with a crack. Whether it was the Tianyin old ghost or the people who had noticed the jade plate, they were all pale with fright. The heavenly sound thunder lake, which was known as the strongest magical treasure in the sixth heaven, cracked? This is impossible. Tianyin old devil's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The reason why he was able to reach where he was today and stand at the peak of the sixth heaven was because of this most powerful magic treasure. But at this moment, the solipsistic had actually broken this magic treasure? Did that mean that he was really Rumble? The dark clouds in the sky were directly split apart by Lu Chen's sword. In the sky, a white-haired man stood in the air, like a god descending to the world. Seeing this scene, everyone present could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. My God, this guy broke the heavenly tribulation. He still has moves that are even more powerful than the one sword breaks the heavens? This polar ice flame explosion sword, I think it is the real one sword breaks the heavens! Tian Xian could not help but shake his head. When he said that he would pass the tribulation in 3 years, I thought it was a fool's dream. Now it seems that we are the frogs at the bottom of the well. Although the heavenly refinement is not the real heavenly tribulation, the strength of his heavenly refinement is not inferior to the heavenly tribulation. And he can withstand the level 9 heavenly refinement of the one sword breaks the heavens, so even if he encounters the real level 9 heavenly tribulation, he can easily pass the tribulation. Wu Chang said, "People say that the Tianyin old devil is strong, but the Tianyin old devil's strength mostly relies on the heavenly sound thunder pond. And this guy is a monster from the beginning to the end. His combat power is simply too terrifying." Qingli could not help but sigh. Solipsistic, one sword breaks the heavens. This guy is really the #1 mad god in Jiutian history. The #1 monster. The #1 god of war. When the level 9 heavenly tribulation disappeared, the current Lu Chen could only be described as horrifying. In an instant, he was already in front of the Tianyin old devil. Die for me! Attacking the void, polar ice flame explosion. Upon hearing the name of this skill, the Tianyin old devil was almost scared out of his wits. Wasn't this the move he used to break the heavenly sound thunder pond? How could he block it? The Tianyin old devil naturally would not surrender without a fight. He hurriedly used lingering sound, heavenly sound spirit shield, demonic sound dance, and many other defensive skills. However, this time, all of these skills were useless in front of the polar ice blazing flames. The spirit shield and lingering sound instantly froze. Then, they directly exploded from the inside. And the sword aura directly split the upper half of the Tianyin old devil's body, together with the small half of the Tianyin Xianzither, into two. Not to mention the Tianyin old devil, the entire Huashan continent's ground was directly cut off by Lu Chen. Fortunately, the spectators in the distance had sufficient time to react. They frantically fled, and only then did they manage to avoid this attack. After this attack, a huge crack that ran for hundreds of miles had already appeared in the Huashan continent. It was like an abyss, so deep that one could not see the bottom. Everyone looked at the Tianyin old devil's mutilated body in shock. Their brains short-circuited for a moment, and they were speechless. The Tianyin old devil looked at his own body in horror, and then looked at Lu Chen in front of him. He did not recover for a long time. Solipsistic, Lu Chen did not have a trace of joy on his face. He only raised his head and looked at the falling ice crystals around him. Reaching out his hand, Lu Chen caught an ice crystal. It was as if it was a part of Xiaomin's body. However, the ice crystal stayed in his hand for a moment before it finally melted. Little furball, I'll leave this fellow to you. Lu Chen was no longer in the mood to punish the Tianyin old devil. Anyway, the little furball's anger was not any less than his. He just wanted to be alone and have some peace and quiet. A little white mouse directly scurried onto the Tianyin old devil's shoulder. The little furball squeaked nonstop. Xiaomin was dead, and the little furball was unable to contain its anger. Its eyes revealed a cruel expression that had never been seen before. It wanted the Tianyin old devil to suffer a fate worse than death. It directly started to gnaw on the Tianyin old devil's face. It's the heaven-devouring, God-slaying rat. Get out of my way! Get out of my way! The Tianyin old devil screamed. However, his body had already been severed. How could he resist the little furball? Lu Chen glanced at Lu Shui and Purple Knight Tianzi in the distance. When Lu Chen's gaze swept past them, the two of them instinctively took a few steps back. However, Lu Chen did not do anything. He only watched as the little furball tortured the Tianyin old devil. The Tianyin old devil was most afraid of death. However, who would have thought that after hiding in the Tianyin Thunder Pond for more than 600 years, he would still be defeated today? Furthermore, the little furball used extremely cruel methods to torture him to the point where he could neither live nor die. After 5 hours of cruel torture, the Tianyin old devil had already become half a skeleton and half rotten flesh. His face was badly mutilated. He was already on the verge of death. Solipsistic, I beg you, kill me, the Tianyin old devil pleaded. Lu Chen was unmoved. However, this time, without waiting for Lu Chen to make a move, the Tianyin old devil could not hold on any longer. His neck tilted and he was about to breathe his last. Lu Chen snorted coldly. A wisp of netherworld fire appeared in his hand and directly entered the Tianyin old devil's body. Although he no longer had a complete body, Lu Chen used the netherworld fire to finally end the Tianyin old devil. In this way, he could not even go to the netherworld. His soul was truly scattered. Lu Chen recalled the little furball and glanced at the demonic academy. His gaze landed on Yi Fan. Yi Fan, I will give you 7 days. 7 days later, annihilate the Tianyin old devil and slaughter Zi Tian. With that, Lu Chen disappeared from everyone's sight in a flash. Chapter 1181. On a sparsely populated planet, there were wild beasts running amok in the dense jungles, and few people were there. Lu Chen sat alone by the stream, staring at the lake in a daze. Furry, Originator, and Rhubarb sat behind Lu Chen. It was rare that the three of them didn't go out to have fun, but stayed by Lu Chen's side. There were still traces of tears on Boss's face. Furry jumped onto Lu Chen's shoulder and rubbed against his master. Lu Chen came back to his senses, stroked Furry, and choked with sobs. I didn't protect Xiaomin well. Xiaomin's sacrifice not only helped Lu Chen block the killing move of Tianyin old devil, but also helped Lu Chen break through the limit of his will. Without Xiaomin, Lu Chen wouldn't have been able to resist the level 9 heavenly tribulation and kill Tianyin old devil at the same time. I'm fine. I'll settle this in 7 days. Lu Chen said softly and continued to stare at the lake in a daze. Although the dean had killed Tianyin old devil, the atmosphere in the Divinity and Demons Academy was particularly tense. The dean had given Yi Fan a deadline. 7 days later was the last day to settle this grudge. Yi Fan, are you confident now? Xiao Zhan asked. Yi Fan nodded heavily. 7 days later, I will definitely kill Ziyi and avenge my clansmen. I will also avenge little sister Min. Okay, leave the other experts of the Violet Palace to us. Purple Knight Emperor is yours. Chu Tian said. Yi Fan looked at them gratefully. No matter how mischievous they usually were, they never flinched at the critical moment. The brothers' business was their business. On the other side, the 8 heavenly kings of the royal heaven immortal palace had returned. Tai Hao looked at the dazed Tian Xen and sighed. Xen, are you afraid that Lu Chen will blame you? Tian Xen nodded. Big brother Lu Chen is a loyal person. Xiao Min's sacrifice must have been a huge blow to him. If I hadn't asked him for help, this wouldn't have happened. Tai Hao said, we don't know where he is now. Let's thank him the next time he appears. Ku Rua said, Nameless has already said that the Heavenly Music Pavilion and the Purple Heavenly Palace will be wiped out in 7 days. Right now, the people from the 2 great powers were fleeing in panic. From sovereign personages to martial emperors, they all fought to be the first to flee. Kunwa frowned. Nameless words caused the collapse of the Heavenly Music Pavilion and the Purple Heaven Palace. It's like a heavenly decree. What else could it be? Even the Heavenly Music Pavilion was killed by him. Nameless already has the strength of a true immortal even if he hasn't gone through the tribulation. Tai Hao nodded. Regardless of the others, the 2 leaders of the Heavenly Music Pavilion and the Purple Heavenly Palace definitely can't escape. This matter is a foregone conclusion. Right now, the entire 6th heaven is paying attention to that guy. When will he go to the Tower of Babel? Speaking of tribulation, Tai Hao said what he was most concerned about. What kind of tribulation will he encounter in the Tower of Babel? Can someone like him, who is unwilling to give up his original intention, succeed in the tribulation? Solipsistic wasn't the Heavenly Music Pavilion. The Heavenly Music Pavilion refused to leave the 6th heaven, but from the looks of it, Solipsistic would be able to go through the tribulation soon. This matter was the most important matter in the 6th heavens right now. Who knew how many pairs of eyes were watching? 7 days later, Lu Chen returned to the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons and led the disciples to the Purple Mountain Continent, which was the lair of the Purple Heavenly Palace. Along the way, Yi Fan didn't say a word. Anyone could see that he had been waiting for this day for a long time. However, when they arrived at the Purple Heavenly Palace, they found that the huge palace of the Purple Heavenly Palace was empty. Originally, everyone thought that the people of the Purple Heavenly Palace had run away. It wasn't until they saw a person sitting on the throne in the Purple Heavenly Palace that they breathed a sigh of relief. It didn't matter even if the entire Purple Heavenly Palace had run away, as long as this person was still here. Purple Night Emperor looked haggard, but today he wore the standard accessories of the Purple Heavenly Palace. A purple robe with golden patterns, and sat on the throne. Seeing Lu Chen, Yi Fan, and the others break into the Purple Heavenly Palace, Purple Night Emperor's face didn't change. Solipsistic had never failed to fulfill his promise, so he wasn't surprised that the people of the Holy Academy of Gods and Demons would come. On the contrary, it seemed that he had made preparations early on. However, there was only Purple Knight Tianzi in the huge Purple Sky Divine Hall. He sat alone on the throne. It was said that there were many experts and hundreds of thousands of disciples in the Purple Heavenly Palace. Today, only Purple Night Emperor was left. Lu Chen snorted coldly, Purple Night Emperor, I didn't expect you to have such a day. Your Purple Heavenly Palace is finished. The corners of Purple Night Emperor's eyes twitched. The Purple Heavenly Palace that he had painstakingly managed, from its peak to its decline, was all because of a single sentence from Solipsistic. Within 7 days, the Purple Heavenly Palace that had been passed down for thousands of years was only left with a shell and him, a commander without an army. Since the other experts had left, then things were even simpler. Lu Chen looked at Yi Fan. Yi Fan, I'll leave him to you. Yi Fan stared at Purple Night Emperor and walked over. Purple Night Emperor, in order to seize Yi Tiandi's cultivation method, you killed more than 80 of my clansmen. We can finally settle this debt. Didn't you want Yi Tiandi's cultivation method? Well, I'll let you have a good look today. Come down and die. Not only was Purple Night Emperor not angry, but he laughed loudly. It's really fate. Who would have thought that after I slaughtered the entire Yi family and missed out on Yi Fan, Yi Tiandi's cultivation method was in your hands, Yi Fan. And you, in just 5 years, have already reached the point where you can fight with me. If I didn't care about the innocuous academy, Zhongxingu, and directly killed you, even if I suffered some losses, it would be much better than today. So, I failed because I wasn't ruthless enough. Yi Fan said angrily, "Is this your awareness before death? When you slaughtered the Yi family, you didn't say that you would spare my life. If it weren't for my clansmen swearing to protect me, I would have died in the Yi family mansion. You failed not because you weren't ruthless enough, but because you died because you were unscrupulous." Yi Tianzi smiled, stood up, and walked down the stairs step by step. In this world where flesh is strong, what's wrong with being unscrupulous? Yi Fan, you want to avenge your family? Well, if you want revenge, then come at me. Even if everyone in the Purple Heavenly Palace is gone, at least I, Purple Knight Emperor, am still here. Even if I had a choice again, I would still destroy your Yi family, but I definitely won't let a little bastard like you escape. Yi Fan's eyes widened. Shut up, eat my sword. Celestial Emperor Sword Art, yes, solitary sword. Yi Fan turned into a yellow afterimage and rushed toward his opponent. Chapter 1182. Remnants of the Yi family, as long as you don't interfere, I'll kill you like killing a chicken. Suddenly, Lu Chen spoke up. Violet Knight, I've already promised Yi Fan that I won't interfere in this matter. So, if you have the ability, go ahead and use it. Although Yi Fan had been living in poverty for the past few years, his strength had always improved the fastest among his fellow disciples. In addition to talent, resources, and opportunities, the most important thing was that Yi Fan still had a great enmity that he had yet to avenge. His time was more pressing than the others. Apart from working, the only thing he had to do was become stronger. Back then, Yi Fan had been a 2-star Theo the Great. In the blink of an eye, 4 years had passed. Now, Yi Fan had become the second person in the Primordial Demon Academy besides Lu Chen to step into the human monarch realm. Although Purple Knight was a 5-star human monarch, 4 stars higher than Yi Fan's talent could completely make up for the 4-star gap. Lu Chen absolutely believed in Yi Fan on this point. Apart from that guy's bad gambling and financial luck, and his inability to pursue girls, in terms of strength, he was undoubtedly the strongest disciple in the Primordial Demon Academy. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Purple Knight laughed wildly. All right, since Nameless has said so, although I know that I'm going to die, I'll at least drag one of you down with me today. Yi Fan, the grudge between you and me should be settled today. Go to hell. For a moment, Purple Knight and Yi Fan fought fiercely. Nameless, I didn't expect Purple Knight to be so strong, a sea of clouds said. On the side, Etian interjected. If Purple Knight didn't have some strength, he wouldn't have been able to become the palace master of the Purple Sky Palace. Now, the Purple Sky Palace has declined. Aside from settling the grudge with Yi Fan, Emperor Zai is also fighting for the last dignity of the Purple Sky Palace. Ma Bei, who came with the Divine Devil Academy, said, "The Purple Knight Emperor usually does whatever he wants, but no matter what, his feelings for the Purple Heavenly Palace are indeed deeper than anyone else. Look, everyone has left the Purple Heavenly Palace, but he did not escape." Xiao Zhan and the others stared at the battle nervously. Junior brother Yi Fan and Celestial Emperor Ye's cultivation technique? He had never used it before. This Celestial Emperor Ye's technique is so powerful. I used to think that it was a mental cultivation method. I didn't think that it would include the skills of all the major professions. Every move is very strong. It seems that this guy has never used his full strength when he fought with us. Yi Fan and the Purple Knight Emperor fought fiercely for close to 30 minutes. The Purple Knight Emperor was a 5-star sovereign personage, yet he was actually suppressed by Yi Fan to the point that he could not breathe. He forced Yi Fan back with one move and stared fixedly at Yi Fan. This kid who was only at the Emperor realm back then had already become a Mortal King realm powerhouse in just a few years. His combat strength was even above his own. He had long known that Yi Fan was a rare genius, so he had been unwilling to let Yi Fan go. Now it seemed that he had still underestimated Yi Fan's potential. He had not killed Yi Fan back then, but in the blink of an eye, this guy already had such terrifying strength. Most importantly, he had an even more terrifying backer behind him, the Divine Devil Academy. An academy that, from top to bottom, was filled with demons and monsters. At this moment, the Purple Knight Emperor finally understood that he could no longer defeat the surviving member of the Yi family who had luckily escaped back then. Purple Knight Bastard, today, I will avenge my parents, siblings, and clansmen. Yi Fan changed from his usual quiet, gentle, and calm appearance. His eyes were filled with hatred. Die for me! Celestial Emperor Yi Art, Emperor's Heart Monarch Sword. Yi Fan's figure suddenly increased in size. His body turned into a stream of light. His sword aura crisscrossed, and in his astral state, he flashed past and pierced straight for the Purple Knight Emperor's heart. The ground of the Purple Sky Hall was directly affected by the aftershock. Huge cracks appeared on the ground. At the same time, the sword attack arrived. Before the Purple Knight Emperor could react, a golden light had already pierced through his chest. Yi Fan's voice came from behind him. This is the Celestial Emperor Yi Art that you tried so hard to obtain. The Purple Knight Emperor's eyes widened. In the face of this attack, he did not even have the chance to react. A moment later, a large hole appeared in the Purple Knight Emperor's chest. His flesh was badly mangled. He knelt on the ground with a dull expression. Yi Fan walked in front of the Purple Knight Emperor. His eyes were wide open as he cut off the Purple Knight Emperor's head. At the same time, he wrapped the head with spiritual energy to nourish it, preventing the Purple Knight Emperor from dying. I will seal your head in my Yi family tomb and let you repent in front of my Yi family forever. Yi Fan choked with sobs. The Yi family's revenge had finally been avenged. The Purple Sky Palace had been destroyed. Lu Chen continued to lead the disciples of the Divinity Demon Academy to the Heavenly Music Parlor. The Heavenly Music Parlor's situation was even worse. The Heavenly Music Parlor was empty inside and out. It was a complete mess. Since Lu Chen said that he would destroy the Heavenly Music Parlor, who would dare to stay here? The current Heavenly Music Parlor master, Lu Shui, and the 18 hall masters had all run away. Only the buildings of the Heavenly Music Parlor were left empty. Nameless, what do we do now? Do we kill them all? A sea of clouds asked. Lu Chen shook his head. The only one in the Heavenly Music Parlor who has a grudge with me is the Heavenly Music Parlor. Once the Heavenly Music Parlor is dead, the monkeys will scatter when the tree falls. It can be seen that the Heavenly Music Parlor is not united. As for the others, since they have given up on becoming part of the Heavenly Music Parlor, I will spare their lives. Speaking of which, Lu Chen still remembered Qing Ying, the hall master of the Heavenly Music Parlor's Qing Law Hall. She was actually a good person. Perhaps the Heavenly Music Parlor had many people like her. Since they had given up on becoming part of the Heavenly Music Parlor, they would no longer be enemies with Lu Chen. He would just let them be. Old. Lu Chen looked at the empty Heavenly Music Parlor. The two of them responded. Nameless, what's the matter? Lu Chen said, the Divinity Demon Academy is full now. The Intentionless Mountain can only accommodate 15,000 people. Any more and it will be crowded. The Heavenly Music Parlor and the Purple Sky Palace are bigger than the Zhongxingu. They can be used as branches of the Divinity Demon Academy. The two continents where the Heavenly Music Parlor and the Purple Sky Palace were located did not have a headquarters. The major academies followed these two forces. In fact, they were equivalent to the headquarters of the Heavenly Music Continent and the Purple Mountain Continent. And Lu Chen directly used these two places as branches of the Divinity Demon Academy. Mabe could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. How would the development of the Divinity Demon Academy be in the future? When a sea of clouds and Etion heard this, they immediately became spirited. This was a big project. This way, they would have a new challenge. At this moment, Lu Chen took out a token and handed it to Yi Fan, who was still in a daze. He also raised his head and looked at Lu Chen in surprise. Dean, this is... Lu Chen smiled slightly. Divinity Demon Academy's Dean's token? On the spot, everyone looked at Lu Chen in shock. Lu Chen smiled faintly. I've been in the sixth heaven for a long time. Yunhai and Etienne are getting on in years, and there are many competitions for rankings in the academy that still require the dean's intervention. Just let them help you manage the academy. You'll be in charge of fighting. Dean. Yi Fan's eyes flickered with tears. Yi Fan, you are already very strong. I also believe that you will become stronger. Moreover, you will also bring the Divinity Demon Academy to a higher level. From now on, the Dean's token is yours. With that, Lu Chen picked up Yi Fan's token and placed it in his hand. Chapter 1183. Everyone knew that the Dean was about to leave the sixth heaven, but no one expected that the Dean would hand over the Dean's token to Yi Fan. Dean, I might not be ready yet, Yi Fan said. Lu Chen smiled faintly. I wasn't ready at that time. Dean, are you leaving? Yi Fan asked. Lu Chen nodded. There are still some trivial matters to deal with. When Little Green comes back, I should be going to Tong Tian Tower. Although Lu Chen's decision was a bit sudden, thinking about this guy's growth speed, he had the strength to resist a level 9 heavenly tribulation in 4 years at the 6th heaven. With his speed, it was naturally impossible for him to be like the other deans, who had been there for decades. Yun Hai let out a long sigh. Nameless, your growth rate is too fast. I was still thinking of working with you for a few more years. I didn't expect that in just a few years, you're already leaving. Back then, the scene of a sea of clouds handing over the Dean's token to Lu Chen seemed to be right in front of him. In a flash, Lu Chen was already at the peak of the human king realm and passed the inheritance of the holy courtyard of gods and demons to Yi Fan. However, all good things must come to an end. Lu Chen had to leave in the end. Tan also sighed and could only accept this reality. He said to Yi Fan, other than financial management, you are very outstanding in all aspects. Everyone saw that you just took your revenge. With your current strength, you are qualified to be the dean of any holy courtyard. But, don't worry, we will help you with the matters of the academy. Itian said. A sea of clouds had already thought it through. Nameless is right. Yi Fan, we all believe that you will bring the holy courtyard of gods and demons to a higher level. However, Nameless, there are some procedures that you still have to go through. After all, you are the founder of the Divine Devil Academy, and after you abdicate, you will definitely have to enter the Divine Devil Temple. Furthermore, the inheritance of our Divine Devil Academy will also have to be officially announced. Lu Chen nodded. Although he didn't like these complicated formalities, this was the Demonic God Academy that he had founded. Moreover, the inheritance ceremony was also to help Yi Fan establish his prestige and reputation, so he couldn't skip it. The Dean's seal could be given to Yi Fan first, but it would have to be given later during the ceremony. Xiao Zhan, Chu Tian, Wu Xian, and Skyfall all came to Yi Fan's side and slapped Yi Fan's shoulder, almost sending Yi Fan flying. Yi Fan, you've actually become a dean. However, the dean also has to call me senior apprentice brother. Chu Tian said with a laugh. Sai, how can the dean be at ease with you? I am convinced of your strength, but isn't he afraid that the Divine Devil Academy will go bankrupt because of the lack of capital? Xiao Zhan frowned. Yi Fan, don't think that just because you're the dean, you don't have to pay back the 8 million you owe me. The mysterious Armor King reminded. However, Yi Fan did not have the usual appearance of playing around with his fellow disciples. It seemed that he had a lot on his mind. Seeing this, the few of them realized that it was not appropriate to joke at this time. Chu Tian stopped smiling. Yi Fan, don't worry, we will do our best to assist you. Yi Fan looked at Chu Tian. Actually, Grey Crow and the others all had official positions now, and Chu Tian was the true eldest senior brother of the new disciples. Chu Tian's ability and strength were all very strong, and he was also a very good choice for the dean. Senior brother Chu Tian, you should have been the dean. Chu Tian could not help but laugh. Idiot, what nonsense are you talking about? With that, Chu Tian looked at Yi Fan seriously. Yi Fan, us brothers, why are you still talking about this? To us, the position of the dean is not attractive at all. We only hope to become stronger, and becoming the dean means that the responsibility on our shoulders is even heavier. It's actually a burden. Xiao Zhan also said, "Luckily that old fellow didn't let me be the dean, otherwise I would have rejected him on the spot." "That's right, so many things will only hinder my cultivation." Wu Xian and Skyfall also agreed. Yi Fan frowned and asked doubtfully, "Why would you reject it? Isn't it just a bit tiring?" "But the dean's salary is quite attractive. It seems to be over 1,000,000 spirit stones a month." Everyone almost vomited blood. Yi Fan was indeed worthy of being Yi Fan. So the reason he accepted the position of dean was because of the salary. On the side, Lu Chen was also speechless. Luckily he chose Yi Fan, otherwise he would have been rejected in front of everyone. Lu Chen secretly asked a sea of clouds, "Does the dean get a salary?" A sea of clouds replied in a small voice, "I don't know where that kid heard those rumors from." Lu Chen nodded. "Then, go back and change it. Give him a month. It can't be too much in case he runs away after earning enough. How much do you think is appropriate?" A sea of clouds thought carefully and said, "He won't mind if we give him more, and he won't mind if we give him less. I think we should give him a bit more, 500,000. Anyway, the Black Armor King can earn it back from this kid." Lu Chen thought about it. That was right, the Black Armor King was bound to defeat Yi Fan. Tell the Black Armor King that during Yi Fan's tenure, he can't let his assets be positive. Okay, there's no problem with that at all. After settling this matter, Lu Chen let out a long sigh of relief. He was really worried sick about the God-Fiend Academy. After returning from the Heavenly Music Pavilion, the God-Fiend Academy became even busier. First, they built a statue of Lu Chen in the God-Fiend Temple. Although Lu Chen asked everyone to be simple, a sea of clouds and the others were not sloppy at all. They hired the best sculptor and built a 25-meter-tall stone statue in the main hall. Yi Tian liquidated the assets of the Purple Sky Palace and the Heavenly Music Pavilion. He proposed to move the God-Fiend Academy's headquarters to the Purple Sky Palace. Although the Purple Sky Palace did not leave any resources behind, there were some things they could not take away. The Purple Sky Continent's first spirit vein, the Purple Sky Spirit Vein, the Purple Sky Spirit Stone Mine, and so on. These facilities were not available in the Intentionless Mountain. As the Purple Sky Palace and the Heavenly Music Pavilion were both at the level of the continent's headquarters, the buildings did not need to be unsealed and could be used directly. Of course, this was not something that could be done overnight. It would probably have to wait until Yi Fan became the dean before it could be carried out. 7 days later, Lu Chen's statue was completed, and the God-Fiend Academy's official inheritance ceremony began. The various academies of Prosperous Source Continent, the Zhongxiangu Immortal Venerable Shen Liang, the Celestial Fortress Lord, the 8 Pavilion Lords, and even the 8 Heavenly Kings of the Royal Heaven Immortal Palace, the various headquarters of the continent, and those hidden experts, came. In an instant, the Intentionless Mountain was filled with a sea of people, and it was incomparably lively. Today, the inheritance ceremony of the God-Fiend Academy had attracted the entire 6th heaven. Many human king experts did not even have the chance to enter the God-Fiend Temple. They could only watch the illusion images in the martial arts practice field and witness this historical moment. After the ceremony began, a sea of clouds, Yi Tian, Tai Hao, Shen Liang, and the others went up the stage at the same time and walked to a huge statue covered with a red cloth. Tai Hao said to everyone, "It has been 4 years and 3 months since the establishment of the Demonic Academy. In 4 years and 3 months, the God-Fiend Academy has created the most terrifying record in the 6th heaven. And all of this is because of the owner of this statue." After saying that, the 4 of them pulled down the red cloth at the same time. A statue of a white-haired, black-robed man appeared in front of everyone. The statue's eyes were dark green, probably made of netherworld green jade. It was slightly suffused with a green mist. The statue's white hair fluttered in the wind. It had a silver gallbladder in its left hand and the God-Fiend Limitless sword in its right hand. Its expression was vivid and lifelike. It was imposing without being angry, just like a real person. There was a description of the statue under the statue. God-Fiend Patriarch, Solipsistic. Chapter 1184. The explanation was rather long, mentioning Lu Chen's nickname, Nameless, and his name, Lu Chen. It also mentioned the process of him establishing the demonic academy, the big hunting competition, killing the king of hell, the prodigy competition, breaking the mystery of the main spirit vein, fighting the dark erosion, killing old devil Tianyin. The God-fiend patriarch did his best for the God-fiend academy. Although he had a lover, he never married. Looking at the last paragraph, Lu Chen fell into deep thought. This thing was obviously exaggerated. Since when did he have a beautiful woman to accompany him? Furthermore, wasn't it a bit too much to say that he had never married for his entire life? Long Xiang, I'm only in my 30s. How can I be unmarried? Are you hoping that I can't find a girlfriend? Lu Chen asked Long Xiang. Dean, you're going to go through the tribulation soon. You're immortal, aren't you unmarried? Besides, after becoming an immortal, very few people will find an immortal companion. Lu Chen widened his eyes anxiously. Why? Even if it's a true immortal, after transcending the tribulation, they will at least recover some of their emotions. How should I put it? It's like before the big exam in our academy. The disciples will abandon all distracting thoughts and cultivate, but after the big exam, they will all return to their dead state and even become more serious. But transcending the tribulation is different. It's a real cutoff of lust. Although I've never seen a true immortal, I think they should be people with pure hearts and few desires. Only by seeing through the mortal world can one become an immortal. If they've seen through the mortal world, who would still find an immortal companion? Lu Chen was anxious. Didn't this mean that he would really be alone for the rest of his life? Others had seen through the mortal world? He didn't even know what the mortal world was. Even now, he was still a... Li Wei should know about this. At this moment, there was a round of applause from the audience. Lu Chen was about to go on stage. Lu Chen shook his head and walked onto the stage with a heavy heart. At this point, Lu Chen could only temporarily set aside the huge regret in his heart. He briefly said a few words, and finally focused on introducing Yi Fan. He also officially passed the dean's seal to Yi Fan. When it was Yi Fan's turn to speak, the first thing he said was to bring up Lu Chen's injury. When I read the description on the ancestral statue, the last sentence moved me the most. The president has sacrificed too much for the academy. Everyone knows that the president has many beauties, but he never married for the sake of the academy. This spirit is what our demonic academy needs to carry forward. Li Wei happened to see Ronger's tearful eyes and hurriedly comforted her. Silly girl, he said, to learn the spirit of nameless sacrifice for the academy. Don't think too much about it. Ronger said aggrievedly, President, that guy Yi Fan seems to have inherited the teachings of Nameless Senior. What should I do? Yao He looked at the determined gazes of the demonic god disciples and sighed, these guys can't be planning to... Forget it, maybe this is the difference between geniuses and mortals. We can't understand the world of geniuses. The ceremony was just a formality. After the ceremony was over, Lu Chen secretly found Gray Crow. President, why are you looking for me? Ahem, I'm no longer the president. You'll always be the president of our demonic god academy. Gray Crow said firmly, what do you want? What kind of place did you say it was before? It's, ahem, the place where you have a membership card? Gray Crow thought for a moment, 100 Flowers Park? President, you can't be thinking of going there. You brat, what are you thinking? How could I go to such a place? It's just that there have been rumors recently. I just can't remember the name of that place. Recently, someone told me that they often see demonic god disciples indulging in debauchery at 100 Flowers Park. It's not a good thing. Gray Crow jumped in fright. However, ever since he was in charge of recruiting students from other continents, he did not have many opportunities to go to 100 Flowers Park. At most, he would go to the other continents' brothels. The president was probably not talking about him. Perhaps he was still feeling guilty, so Gray Crow quickly found an excuse to escape. Lu Chen sat alone in his room, thinking. In the blink of an eye, he was already 36 or 37 years old. Although he did not look much different from when he first entered the Jiutian continent, he was about to transcend the tribulation. If he failed, then so be it. However, if he succeeded, he would become an immortal with a virgin body. It was not a small loss. Why don't I hung it? Sigh. Lu Chen sighed. Why don't I go to 100 Flowers Park to indulge myself? After thinking about it, Lu Chen gritted his teeth and decided to go to 100 Flowers Park. At that moment, Lu Chen's voice transmission talisman responded. He took it out curiously. Dad, Sister Green has broken through. Come to Zhongxiangu to pick us up. When Lu Chen heard this voice, the desire that had just been ignited instantly disappeared. Little Beast was really everywhere. He only had this thought, and Little Beast had appeared. If it was not for the fact that he had brought back great news, Lu Chen would have rushed over and stuffed him back into the huge egg. Little Green has broken through. Lu Chen's eyes widened. He hurriedly set off for Zhongxiangu. In Zhongxianji's teleportation gate, a golden light flashed, and 3 figures appeared. Lu, Sky Pilfer, and Little Beast. Dad! Little Beast rushed over as soon as it saw Lu Chen. Its eyes were filled with tears. Xiaomin, she really? Lu Chen's eyes also turned red. He nodded, confirming the news. Lu Yi suddenly lost control of her emotions. She covered her face and cried. Xiaomin, Sky Pilfer saw this scene and advised, let's go back first. After all, this is someone else's territory. Lu Chen nodded. He summoned Ten-Winged and brought the 3 back to the God and Devil Holy Courtyard. After learning about Xiaomin's sacrifice, everyone was silent. Only Sky Pilfer said, Nameless, don't be too sad. But if you had used the Ice Flame Sword from the beginning, you might have been countered by old Devil Tianin's level 9 Heavenly Tribulation. Then you would have definitely lost. At least Xiaomin had no regrets before her death. In this Jiutian, how many people can do this? Not to mention ghost pets, weapon spirits, and battle pets like us. To be able to do this is already a blessing. Lu Chen nodded. He also knew this logic. But when Xiaomin left, everyone felt uncomfortable. Could it be that we can't revive little Min? The little critter was already a young man now, but it still shed tears like rain. Lu Chen shook his head. I'm afraid not. If Xiaomin was only killed by old Devil Tianin, there might be a chance. But now that she is in the Heavenly Tribulation, the Heavenly Tribulation has a purifying power. It is especially terrifying for spirit bodies. No, there's still a way. Louis, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said. Lu Chen looked at Little Green in shock. Xiaomin, whose soul had already been scattered, still had a chance to be reborn? Little Green, quickly say it. What's the way? Even if it's a mountain of blades and a sea of flames, above the Jiutian, below the netherworld, as long as there's a way to revive Xiaomin, I will definitely bring Xiaomin back. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.